Go Bills, believe. Let's go. All right.
Nice picture there. Yeah.
I'm surprised he
I
fit it
didn't
in
know
the house there.
I've never seen one of those inflatable.
That's a giant one.
Yeah, it's like 8 feet tall.
Steve,
Nice.
Steven on the tweet sheet. Red jersey, my blue jeans, my Bills.
Online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
The Bills don't like New England, and I think this week, I don't care who they throw out at quarterback, they're going to try to really embarrass them at home this weekend. This is the perfect opponent at the right time. They're wounded, and I think they're going to want to bury them even more.
I'm sure if you're a Bills fan, you're loving every second of it. But right now, it's crazy how the mighty have fallen.
The Bills team's got to worry about themselves first and wake up and go get a division win.
Mike Danger.
I feel like the Bills, when they play against a bad team, the Bills handle their business. And I expect that they'll do the same against the Patriots. The Patriots are a one-win team. They're a bad football team. Aren't you embarrassed if you're Bill Belichick?
Gene Battaglia.
We got to get better at everything. And we got a very difficult opponent. They play offense well. They play defense well. Do you want to ask a question about the game? We can talk about this week's game.
Sorry.
Yeah, Mac Jones is our quarterback.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Cowboys able to withstand the Chargers 20-17.
Oh, who cares?
Baseball playoffs.
Playoffs? You kidding me?
Me and my Buffalo Sabres, yeah, yeah, yeah.
95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester.
Glad you're along with us here today in Rochester, my hometown, Dan DeLorean's hometown. Danger's off today. It's Battaglia and Dan Drummy with you here in the Sports Bar. We got a great show lined up here in the Flower City, Rochester's only local daily sports talk show. Glad you're with us here. On your ride home, our phone number 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326, or you can also hit us up on X. Although as I bring in Dan DeLorean, we've mentioned this before, but I think it's noteworthy. Dan, good afternoon to you. You are the one person that I know that is refusing to update their phone. You still have the bird on your phone?
It is still Twitter to me, Gino.
It's
always be Twitter to me. I don't care.
All right, sooner or later, your phone is going to say, you know what, you're doing an update whether you like it or not.
No, I refuse. I don't care. I honestly don't care. It's staying Twitter.
So, yes, it is the day that if you ever wonder what the Dan DeLorean looks like, you're on camera today, bud.
Hey.
So, in addition to 95.7 FM, AM 950, but if you're in your car, maybe we suggest the Odyssey app because that's the cleanest way to pick up our show here. And then also you can go back in time by using the rewind feature. We are also, you can watch us if you are in front of your desktop or laptop or whatever device. We are on YouTube. We are also on Twitch, and we would also appreciate the like and the follow because that makes Mike Danger happy. Danger sometimes says when I'm not here, he says I'm on assignment. I'm going to tell you, Danger's doing the dad thing today, and good for him. His daughter goes to Mercy, and she's on the golf team. So today was golf with your daughter day. So, and they have a banquet following tonight. So I'm like, dude, go enjoy. The time goes by too quickly. It was a couple weeks ago. I went for my son's senior day and got to watch him on a Tuesday afternoon. So these are the things we do as parents, and hopefully everybody can kind of understand. So Danger will be back tomorrow. So let's set you up here for the show today and kind of what you expect here on a Tuesday, if you listen to us, and if you are a Bills fan. Oh, also, we want to mention that our Wingman line brought to you by Good Smoke Barbecue. Good Smoke Barbecue in the pub, new location, 135 West Commercial Street. GoodSmokeBarbecue.com. Also, we want to thank our good partners at Three Heads Brewing, which we will be at Friday live. So it's good to see everybody once again. We do this once a month for Friday Football Talk Live. And when there's this big a gap between the Bills and the Patriots, we're going to hoist a cold one and celebrate.
We can share a cold one and maybe a win or two.
Dan DeLorean on top of his game today. Join us coming up on Friday, as we hope you can be with us again, 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock out at Three Heads Brewing. Danger, might be out there a little longer. I have RIT hockey Friday night.
Go Tigers.
Yeah, that'll be our last guest today. Wayne Wilson, the head coach of the RIT Tigers, will be joining us at 5:45. So there's no last call today. I'm handing last call over to Wayne Wilson because if you beat the Fighting Irish in Notre Dame, you are coming on the show. So Wayne will get us set up as the Tigers are actually home this Friday and Saturday against Sacred Heart. And that's interesting because that's kind of the team that's right behind RIT in terms of, all right, who's going to take Atlantic hockey this season. So we'll be talking to head coach Wayne Wilson later on the show today. In his normal spot, somewhere between here and Laval, is head coach Seth Apper. We do have it confirmed. The bus ride is in progress for the Rochester Americans as they will be playing north of the border tomorrow night. They're off Thursday. They stay there for Friday night's action as well. So we'll be talking to head coach Seth Apper. That will be coming up here at 4:25. And then in the 3 o'clock hour, our good friend Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, as we'll take a look back to whatever the heck that you want to call it Sunday night, and look ahead here as I think we're kind of in this limbo purgatory of Buffalo Bills football. It's like, all right, talking with one of the guys at Fisher today, Brandon Potter. He always has a take whenever we go down to the Fisher offices. He's like, football's terrible. It's these quarterbacks, they're all getting overpaid. I'm just like, this is the same as like it is every year. Quarterbacks will have some off games. Very rarely do you have any quarterback just tear it up week 1 through 17 or 1 through 18 or however we want to say it. This was the week where, you had the Niners lose, you had the Eagles lose, you had the Buffalo Bills not looking sharp but somehow finding a way. You had whatever you want to call last night. That was a nice read option by Dak Prescott. He also made some bad throws. And there are the Chargers losing again. So I digress. We'll talk some Buffalo Bills football. We got some Bills news today that was kind of unexpected. Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, to join us at 3:25. You can write to us as we'll call it Twitter today, Dan. Happy?
Thank you.
Happy. At The Fan Rochester is our handle. And our phone number, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. The proverbial table is set. If you woke up this morning, you saw the news, coming in for a visit, wow, that's interesting, Leonard Fournette. And we went over this yesterday with Ryan Talbot, and they're going to need a running back. So the good news is, if you missed it, Damian Harris should be okay, was released from the hospital. However, he's got a neck sprain, he's in concussion protocol. Let's just phrase it this way. I would be surprised if Damian Harris all of a sudden was on the field at New England going against his former team. So you kind of go down the road of, I have 2 running backs on the roster right now. What do you do here? You have James Cook. You have DeMarco Murray. It's not
DeMarco Murray. Latavius Murray.
My goodness. Latavius Murray.
Wow.
Maybe they could bring in DeMarco Murray.
Is he still? Ooh.
Yeah. There's a slip. Latavius Murray. At least I didn't say Dalvin Cook. That would have been the doubleheader there if I said, Dale, you have Dalvin Cook and you have... Anyways, you need a running back, Dan. You do need a running back. And the question is, what is on the practice squad? And yeah, I forgot about this guy, Ty Johnson. Who was Ty Johnson? Well, somebody that was the third down back for the New York Jets last year and then tore a pec and he's out of a job. But then he got healthy, and the Jets didn't bring him back, or he didn't want to go back to the Jets, and the Buffalo Bills brought him in. And it was after the Fisher portion of camp, so we really didn't get a handle on any of this. And you saw him that last preseason game against the Bears, and he rushed for 50 yards and was running hard. But again, those weren't the Bears. Those were the Schmears. They were the guys that were going to be cut. So how do you judge everything? Well, all right, we like him. We put him on the practice squad. Forget about it. And you look at the practice squad like, 16 guys on the practice squad, only 1 running back. Okay, I guess this is the guy that they're promoting, which leads us to the news of this morning and how things kind of developed, and we moved on from it really quick. Initially reported by Jordan Schultz that Leonard Fournette was going to visit the Buffalo Bills today. And okay, that's a name. That's somebody that was running hard when the Buccaneers won their Super Bowl a couple of years ago. And the way Schultz phrased it, it was kind of leading you to believe that maybe something would be happening here rather soon. Fournette has fielded interest from several teams, and there's a good chance he signs with Buffalo if all goes well. That's how it was phrased. I'm like, well, that's really interesting, and that would be an interesting one too. But then you go back to, all right, he's been out there for a while. Why hasn't he signed earlier, is it the money thing or is this even real? Well, within like an hour of that tweet going out, the trip was canceled, and now his agent is saying he's got interest from multiple teams. Okay, so what's really going on here? I think what is really going on is his agent was basically willing to take the meeting with the Buffalo Bills. And can you imagine the pride that Leonard Fournette would have to kind of swallow if he signs with the Bills practice squad and they promoted Ty Johnson? I think it's as simple as that. I think that it was an ego thing, and you could say, well, Gene, why wouldn't they just put Leonard Fournette in, keep Ty Johnson? I don't know, because today is Tuesday, and you need somebody who knows the playbook a little bit, so it's a little risky. You need a third running back. This is the choice. So to me, it was smart by the Buffalo saying, hey, look, come on in. We'll put you on the practice squad, and we can kind of go from there. And I could see it from the Fournette standpoint, like, yeah, no, if I'm not on the active 53, maybe I'll sit out. I don't know why any athlete actually wouldn't want to collect a paycheck. Now, practice squad players make much less than an active roster, but understand the way this works is it's not like you're precluding yourself from signing with another team. You can be signed by another team at any point. And for that matter, Dan, I'm just making an assumption here that Ty Johnson's the guy. Maybe he's not the guy. Maybe Brandon Beane is looking around every practice squad roster and saying, I like that guy. Let's go get him off of their practice squad and sign him to the 53. For the same reason, that's why I don't think Leonard Fournette was going to be on the street one week and then all of a sudden, plop, he's in the lineup for the Buffalo Bills. You want to give him some ramp-up time and get the terminology down and everything else like that. So, do I expect the Buffalo Bills to sign Leonard Fournette? No, I do not. Do I think his agent maybe overshot things and saying a lot of teams are interested? Of course, like a lot of teams are interested. Were they not interested Labor Day weekend? Were they not interested in August? Were they like at what point? Like a signing like that, Leonard Fournette has been playing this all along. A team that is desperate will sign me, and unfortunately, at that position, I don't like see the 49ers. I don't know. I haven't seen an update on McCaffrey yet, but you're going to have injuries that kind of go along, and teams will need running backs, and you could do much worse than a Leonard Fournette. But for like 1 hour this morning, though, my mind was racing. How would this backfield actually look? Leonard Fournette and James Cook. That's interesting. Yes, and Latavius Murray as well.
Well, I think just going off of what I've seen out of the Bills running backs this year, I would just, my humble opinion, promote Ty Johnson and go with those three, because I don't think the running backs, I think they've been fine this year for the Bills. Cook has run really well. Murray, going back to the Raiders game or even Miami, they were running no problem. So he knows the system, Ty Johnson. I would promote him and go with those three. For now.
Right, and I think that's the plan.
It's the safest plan. He knows the system.
I think it's the safest plan. If you're going to promote Ty Johnson, then at some point you're going to need to kind of fill the pipeline. I would want to see the Buffalo Bills bring in somebody for the practice squad in terms of running back here. Which, okay, and look, this is why the Bills couldn't really spend to the maximum of the cap, because you got to leave a little bit of wiggle room in case things like this sort of come up. And I guess you could always go back to your veterans and you always can restructure. The cap is a myth, blah, blah, blah. But we can't pretend that's not a consideration. Like Leonard Fournette is not going to come in and work for minimum wage at this point. He's going to want good compensation, because I think, if we're just asking the question, who's the better running back? Well, the answer is Leonard Fournette. But we're only looking at this from a Week 7 standpoint, folks. Week 7, who gives you the better chance to win? The answer is Ty Johnson. The answer is Ty Johnson, because you think Leonard Fournette is ready to go. How do you even know he's in shape at this point?
True.
Yeah, like you would think. And that was the point I didn't skip over. Like, practice squad players make money. Why wouldn't you sign with a team on their practice squad other than ego? you're getting paid to work out. You are in some team's facility. You, at any point, can sign with another team. Say what you want about Cole Beasley, okay? I know Cole Beasley, divisive figure. He went that route last year, and it got him one or two games, I forget, with the Buccaneers, and he ended up back in Buffalo. He went this route this year with the Giants, and he's been on the Giants practice squad. I kept thinking, oh my gosh, they're going to promote Cole Beasley. We're going to see him out there. No, they didn't do that. And also, I'm the house that has the dog named Beasley. This was before everything. Yeah, that always kind of struck me. Like, why wouldn't a Leonard Fournette just, swallow a little bit of pride and get in some team's facility, and at any point you can be asked to be released from that practice squad if you want to negotiate directly with the team, or you can be signed by another team at any point. So I would be looking at practice squad rosters first, rather than who's on the street just sitting on their butt.
Tyler Johnson should be promoted, or should be promoted. Ty Johnson should be promoted just based off the reflection from your monitors of his hair, because he's got great flow there.
Oh, it is outstanding. It's not even, you're talking curls. You are talking
strong salad.
Yeah, that is just, you and I are both jealous here. And if we had the opportunity to talk to him at camp, I would have been like, wow, get this man a deal here.
Yeah.
This man needs to, some product he should endorse here. So I think also, let's be honest too, it's the Patriots.
They're not very good.
No, so you like this. This would be a good week. Hey, Ty Johnson, let's see if he's still got it here. Yeah, if you want to say he has it based off of 11 carries, 50 yards in a preseason game against Chicago Bears who were cut the following Tuesday, then so be it. But I think that this will give you a more honest barometer. I do think that's also a way out of this funk for the Buffalo Bills, too. Offensively, we'll talk to Matt Perino about this. He's coming up here in about 10 minutes here. Our insider, our guy, Syracuse Post-Standard. The question of how do you kind of get the Bills back to where they need to be. And it was going well, and really London wasn't up to snuff. And then last week, 3 quarters shutout against one of the worst defenses. What is going on here? And if you are having the kind of identity crisis, maybe the Buffalo Bills, it's not even that. Just go back to the run. Just go back and be physical against this Patriot team, and that'll set everything else up. Because I thought, actually, at times James Cook was running the ball really well against the Giants, and then Dorsey got away from it. Speaking of Dorsey, the question yesterday from Tim Graham of The Athletic, and I appreciate Tim for asking this question. Asking point blank to Sean McDermott, are you considering having somebody else calling the offensive plays? Whew. Wow. 0-6 Carolina, sure. Frank Reich wants to keep his job. The owner tells him to do this. I don't think that's the end. And furthermore, who would be that person? Not going to be McDermott. He's got his hands full working with the defense. You can't have him calling plays both sides here. This is live or die Ken Dorsey. It just is at this point. And I've made this point for everybody that yearns for the Brian Dable era. And Dable was so much better a head coach than or offensive coordinator. Well, I think the obvious call on 4th and 1 when the untimed down was hand off to Saquon and let him win you the game. I don't know. Or pitch it all to him on the outside. You want your best player to have the football. You want your highest paid player to have the football. And I view more like the Giants lost that game than the Bills won it. And that's why we came in feeling all kind of icky and gross, and it felt more like blame assessment Monday than victory Monday here in the sports bar. Funny sidebar, to finish up the Leonard Fournette. If you go to my, sorry, I can't say X, my Twitter page today, just some of my personal, because I think it's a great photo. My buddy Nick has, for front row seats, he's the fireman guy. If you ever see him, he actually lives up in Hilton. Okay, and I've known him, gosh, back to my days at Aquinas. And so we, you are really blessed if you have friends that go with you that far. So Nick and his wife sit there, and this was the game against the Jaguars a few years ago where Leonard Fournette and Shaq Lawson, this was not your normal scrum. This was, holy crap, these two guys are going at it, and both guys would actually end up being ejected. And what I liked about that from a Buffalo standpoint was Fournette and Lawson are going at it, and it's the whole entire bench of Buffalo seemingly rushing over there to say, what the heck is going on? And in this photo, and I think it's a fantastic photo that Nick's wife Candace took. You see, like, Sean McDermott right in the middle of this, and his eyes are really big, like he's ready to go. And you see Edmonds, and you see Micah Hyde, and you see Jordan Poyer, and you see some guys that are no longer on the team. And you also see, like, Leonard Fournette, and, like, they're going at it, those two. And I'm thinking, well, how long ago was that? Okay, that's been 5 years. I guess that happens on the field, but would you have, like if the Bills were seriously considering bringing in Leonard Fournette, would you have to extend the courtesy to Shaq Lawson, or has enough time gone by since that fight?
You would have to go through all the players and be with them. Listen, are you okay with us bringing in this player, and make sure that they're okay with it, because there might still be some grudges being held.
Yeah, this has happened before in sports. The one I remember was, like, there was an Oriole reliever, Armando Benitez, and that was a really brutal Orioles-Yankees. This might be a deep pull here, Dan, but he plunked Tino Martinez in the back, and Benitez said, okay, everybody come on. And that was like the Yankees at some point brought in Benitez. I'm like, you had to run it by people. So if it's in the name of winning games, professionals will say, okay, if the guy's going to help us win games, even though publicly I'm not going to say I don't like it, okay, we're going to win games. I mean, we all work with people we don't like, right? Dan, this is what you say. I don't know what you're talking about.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
I have no idea.
I love you in Danger, and I love the pizza dude, and I love everybody here at the Fan Rochester. We got to get to Matt Perino. Oh, also, make sure 4 o'clock today. How could I even forget? We have our Survive in Advance, and if you've looked ahead, you're probably having the, oh my gosh, where do we go from here? Oh, this is a brutal week in Survivor. It really is. Well, I'm going to lay it out.
Is it really that?
Dan, it is. You haven't looked ahead here, but
maybe I have an idea.
I have an idea too. All right, I'm going to make sure. This is funny because indirectly, or maybe directly, I'm not going to give it away, involves one of your team.
Oh, I know which way you're probably thinking, but I'm also thinking something outside the box. So
okay, well, let's see here. I'll give you my pick, and then we'll see if it gets the Dan DeLorean's blessing. That's about 4 o'clock. We got to get to Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard. My name is Gene Battaglia, along with Dan Drummy. It's a sports bar of the Fan, Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. update.
Sabres looking for their first win of the season. They're hosting Tampa Bay. First of 4 straight home games for Buffalo. Head coach Don Granato knows it's going to be tough going against Braden Point.
He's a great athlete. He's dynamic, speed, quickness. And he has such a high hockey IQ. You couple that with his speed and quickness, and he's always dangerous. Always somebody you have to respect. And he's on a line with Kucherov. So it's great players with great players.
7:30 for the coverage tonight here on The Fan. Amerks head coach Seth Appert will join us next hour. Bills players off today. Multiple reports this morning had the Bills bringing in Leonard Fournette for a visit. That did not happen. The Bills opening as an 8.5-point favorite against the Patriots. Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, joining us next year in the Sports Bar. Gene Battaglin, the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
The beer is cold and the wheats are hot. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
I think overall, we're continuing to find out who we are and what we do well, and I think that's a ongoing process early in the year. What players fit into what roles, but the inconsistency, I think, is we've got to figure some things out here so we can get into a better rhythm, particularly early in the game.
Head coach Sean McDermott, as the Bills won, I guess that's all that really matters. When we look for Bills news and takes, we always turn to our good friend Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard. And, Matt, it's just me today, Gene, here, as Danger. And look, this is what you have to look forward to, and I think it's really cool because his daughter is on the high school golf team, and now that she's on the high school golf team, what their team does is, well, they invite their dads out for a round of golf, and then they have a banquet tonight. Like, dude, take a Tuesday off. Thankfully, the rain is held off here for the most part in Rochester, so you got a lot of good stuff to look forward to as the years goes on. Matt, how are you today?
I'm good. That is super awesome. But, man, I just got my daughter home, and we had a little bit of a aunt session. She's really into The Greatest Showman, so we put on the musical and we dance around the living room. And I don't want to move too much past this, Gene. All right, so let's not rush it.
I know. You're talking to a fellow girl dad, and that's it. And she's got her life now, and it's like, yeah, I feel like I'm advising you and all the other younger dads, like, enjoy every minute of this here, for sure.
Awesome.
Matt, Gosh, a loaded question. What do you make of Sunday night? Because it was a win, but it took a while to kind of get going. I mean, what was that? Was that Brian Daboll knowing exactly what buttons to push? Was the Bills not taking it all that seriously? Or was it just simply the NFL that these things happen from time to time?
I mean, I think, listen, is it a good thing when you play a 1-4 team and you barely beat them, and you can make an argument that they probably should have gotten one more chance given the pass interference in the end zone that wasn't called? Sure, it's not a great thing, right? But we're also talking about a week of NFL football where the vaunted 49ers and the defending NFC champ Eagles both lost games they should have won. And so the NFL, a lot of times, especially at this time of year when you're trying to figure things out offensively, defensively, is win in advance, win and move on, right? Like you just some wins are going to be ugly, and Diggs talked about that after the game, and I thought it was interesting that both Dawson Knox and Stephon Diggs on the broadcast talked about the familiarity of the coaching staff, and I think that played into it. I'm sure Brian Daboll spent a lot of his week last week in the defensive meeting rooms, going over the tape with players and coaches, and Wink Martindale has a history of doing well against the Bills already. Now you add the architect of what they do into those meetings, and it was a challenge. And Diggs mentioned that they were disguising a lot of their coverage. The Bills, it took them a while to figure things out, and then they did. And I wonder if they had to be really methodical, and it was helpful that the defense played as well as it did. It allowed them to only have those 2 touchdown drives in the second half and lean on the fact that their defense made some plays, but it was close, and you could have gotten out of that game, and it could have been a completely different storyline had they lost it. But they won it. You kind of push it forward. It's a week-to-week league. I know fans hate hearing that. Are there concerns about at times inconsistency of this offense? Definitely.
Yeah, it's a game that during the drought era they lose, and we're all kind of wondering what, but they won, and I don't think you need to apologize for that. But coming out of that, Matt, and you were there in the tunnel, as was I, and oh, wait a second, there's Josh Allen. Wait, he's going over to, and they did like doing that. Like I don't know, like you would want to wait until everybody cleared out, but you want to take care of that. But what is your level of concern for Josh Allen, not just for this game, but is this something you think could linger throughout the season here?
I don't want to go that far, only because like to have it come out a day later and have it be Sean McDermott at one point in his quote said he's fine. I'm not going to overreact to it too much. And also, this is a guy that has played with injuries over the course of his career. He's the most durable NFL player in the NFL right now. I think the most consecutive starts. So I think he could probably play through something that, a day after the coach is saying that he's fine. It's something to monitor for sure. And if it's something that affects his ability to throw, that's interesting because we've seen through 6 games, they've really changed the philosophy behind center with how they want him to operate. He's not running. I think he's on pace for 66 carries this season. He hasn't been under 100 since his rookie year, when he missed a couple games too, and he was still kind of trying to figure it all out. So he's playing the game differently, and they're trying to figure all of that out. There's, the argument between 12 personnel and 11 personnel and this shift and not really being able to find a third consistent contributor in the passing game, and all that kind of stuff is happening at once. If there is a couple weeks long injury concern with Allen, that gets really concerning because after the next 2 games, the schedule gets really, really difficult. So I'm not overreacting, over concerned yet. We'll hear from Josh tomorrow. And then we'll kind of get a better idea of what this looks like.
Yeah, one player that, and first and foremost, we're happy that Damian Harris wasn't anything so serious. He was released from the hospital, but McDermott mentioning neck sprain, concussion protocol. When you hear that, you're like, all right, well, you're thinking maybe you better come up with a plan B here, because if there's only 2 running backs that are on the active roster right now, do we just kind of connect the dots here and think, okay, promoting Ty Johnson? And what did you make of these reports that were out there and then quickly, oh, wait, it's canceled or it's not happening, about Leonard Fournette this morning?
Listen, no shade thrown at anybody, but just be careful where you get your news from, man. Like it's kind of a goopy world, and I get it. Like if maybe there were plans changed, but this. To have an about face less than 12 hours after that report came out makes you wonder about the validity of the report. And even the way that some of the other national folks were framing it when they came out with reports that contradicted it today. Leonard Fournette's been available for a while, and I've never even heard the Bills sniffing around there. So that was a bit of a surprise, knowing that they had that running back on the roster already, and in Ty Johnson and the practice squad. And, there might be some other guys that they've been interested in the past that I wouldn't be surprised if they look to add there. But I think that they really like what they have in Latavius Murray and James Cook. And even with Harris healthy, they've leaned into Murray, so much so that he started for them last week and played a lot in the first half over James Cook. And I thought Sean's comments were really interesting, the fact that kind of a reminder for James Cook that he's got to come in with an attitude and an urgency, and you saw him kind of break a couple off. And I think through the first couple of weeks, you can see that in the difference in their running styles. Like James Cook's still a very young back. He didn't have a lot of carries at the collegiate level. He's somebody that came in, which is a good thing, with not a lot of mileage. But without that mileage, I think you're still trying to figure things out sometimes. And I think he kind of dances around a little bit instead of hitting the hole urgently and getting those 5, 6, 7 yards that you saw even Damian Harris on a limited amount of carries a little bit more consistently getting. So I think they like Murray. I think it's going to be a Murray-Cook share at this point, as long as Murray can hold up. But there's no evidence to suggest that he won't. He's been as healthy as anybody over the last couple of years.
Matt, one last question, kind of in regards to the Giants game. And actually, I don't know if you saw this or not, but you're actually quoted in a Barstool piece here this afternoon. Here, well, just going back to the. Okay, is there any friction between Daboll and Sean McDermott? What did you make of that handshake? Because it didn't seem. I've seen friendlier handshakes. I'll put it that way.
Oh, no, there's definitely some tension there for sure. I don't think that things ended particularly well from everything that I've heard over the last couple of years. And I get it. Like, when you have somebody that's kind of like the CEO of the offense, and then you have the other person that's kind of running the defense, and week in and week out, you're, one side maybe holding up their end of the bargain. And remember, in 13 seconds, that was Brian Daboll's last game. And the offense was literally on a heater that's like unlike almost anything in the history of football through those 8 quarters. I mean, they were unstoppable. And it was the defense and special teams that ended up not being able to kind of advance. So you wonder about those conversations. And, that quote that's in that Barstool article was Sean McDermott saying, like, when you have good runs, there's good times, bad times, and there's tough conversations. And, I thought it was also fitting that Sean was asked about, I think it was me that asked yesterday about Daboll and his effect on the game plan. And he kind of dismissed that and was like, it came down to execution. Like, hey, if we make plays, we win. It's not as close. I mean, that's the kind of inference that I made from that. And to me, that kind of, reading between the lines, there's definitely probably a friction there, but they also did win a lot of football games together. So I do believe, Sean, that there is that healthy amount of respect. But dude, there's so many egos in this game. Like, when people look back and they talk about Josh Allen and his development, it's interesting. Nobody ever really talks much about Sean McDermott and his role in all of it. And I think Josh would make an argument that Sean has had a pretty substantial role. But people start with Brian, then they usually go to Ken. And if they don't go right to Ken, they probably stop off at Jordan Palmer. And Sean's kind of, in the mix after that. And I think that, those kinds of things, when the egos are what they are, it always probably plays in. And, yeah, it doesn't look like they're each other's favorite person.
Yeah, Matt, this is me saying this. I think Sean McDermott does hear things and he takes notes, whether that's people like you or me or something that's written. And I don't know this for sure, but I'm sure I'm going to guess maybe heard it once or twice that Daboll's going to know what to do against his team. And Danger brought this up. I don't want to steal Danger's take, but I thought it was very good. That maybe McDermott knew how to defend Tyrod and knew exactly what to do in those final seconds after spending the 1 year with him.
Yeah, no, that is a great point. And it almost felt like at the end of 2 halves, like they melted down. And he made a good throw on that play, and maybe if there's not pass interference, they make a play there. But I'm also wondering how much did Sean McDermott say to his defense, like down to the goal line, I don't care what you have to do. You do anything you can to make sure that they don't catch because you just keep running that play back and forth or over and over again. So, I think that there's probably something to that. And I thought Tyrod made a couple good throws. Made a couple good throws in that game, but he also made a couple of those plays where you're like, well, yeah, that's going to completely kill this drive. And Sean has a lot of familiarity with him.
We're talking Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard. Is coming up, it's going to be the New England Patriots this week, and I think there's some positives certainly coming out of that win. Most notably, look, you can't say Dorian Williams is going to just play at the same level Matt Milano is going to play. For crying out loud, Matt Milano is an All-Pro, but what did you think of Williams? Because I thought for his first outing that went pretty well, Matt.
For sure, I think he's really. Set a good baseline for something that he can kind of build on throughout the season. And, he's not going to be Matt Milano. Nobody's going to be Matt Milano. And there's some concerns with tackling and something that, maybe that gets better over the years as he develops. But, yeah, obviously a big year, so they want that to be as shored up as possible. Things get considerably harder. I mentioned that earlier. And so when you're talking about some of these tackling issues, when you're facing the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles and some of these the Chargers, some of these higher end offenses with skill players that are able to make you pay at that second and third level, that's when maybe the test will get harder for Dorian Williams. But to this point, he's been really, really good. I thought he got washed out on a couple of those runs on that one drive. But again, the Bills found a way to limit points. The offenses that they face moving forward won't probably be as banged up or as deficient as this Giants offense has been. But early returns are really good. And I also think you have Terrell Bernard playing at a level that, really brings stability to that second level that I don't think anybody would have predicted going into the season had this situation occurred. I like McDermott's decision to go to the rookie, let him kind of develop over the next couple of weeks where the matchups aren't as difficult, and then get a sense if you could trust them against in some of those matchups down the stretch against some of the better offenses.
Matt, turning our attention to this week, I think in any game the Bills could beat the Bills, certainly. I think that was mainly the case there, especially on offense week one. But the New England Patriots, we're going to talk to more Patriot reporters as the week goes along here, but this has to be it for Belichick, right? Like, if they finish with like 2 or 3 wins, I don't recognize this team, this franchise whatsoever. I marvel at how things have changed here between the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots.
Yeah, the latest episode of Shout dropped this morning. I connected with my good buddy Andrew Callahan at the Boston Herald. We gave you guys the first look at the Patriots, and man, I've never heard from that market this kind of just hands in the air, don't know how to explain how bad this whole situation is. And we could be watching a game this weekend, and it could be the end of the Mac Jones show in New England at some point if it doesn't go the way that Bill Belichick and Bill O'Brien needed to go. This is a team without any real weapons, an offensive line that's underperformed, that's banged up at some key spots. I mean, Michael Onwenu, who I thought you could make an argument was one of the best offensive linemen in the division going into the season. He's been banged up, and when he has played, it hasn't even looked as close to what it has in years past. Mac Jones, he does not deal with pressure well. And unfortunately this week he's going to go up against a team that's delivering it at about as high a rate as any defensive front in football. And so, this is a great matchup. The only guy that's really playing well for them on their line is Trent Brown, who is probably going to get a steady dose of Greg Rousseau, Leonard Floyd, who are both playing really, really well. And so this is a Patriots team down their 2 top playmakers on defense, too. I mean, Matthew Judon, Christian Gonzalez, who as a rookie is probably the best young player they've had in New England in years, and he goes out for the season. They go and they trade for J.C. Jackson, who I just think is a shell of his former self. And remember, that former self got cooked by Stephon Diggs before he went to L.A. So I don't know how much the Patriots, I mean, this is their kind of, if you look at this season, this is probably their last stand. If they lose this game and go to 1-6 on the season, it's probably starting to, pitch it forward and start to think about maybe making a run at the top overall draft pick, moving on from Mac Jones. And to your point about Bill Belichick, Andrew said on our show, he can't imagine this not being the last year for Belichick in New England, which I thought was pretty serious.
Yeah, well, I'd say this. Yes, for any other team, but the decision maker, and hard to imagine what 80-year-old Robert Kraft is thinking here, because is he ready for a complete rebuild? Because if you move on from Bill Belichick, then everybody's out, and I don't know when the Patriots would be back.
Yeah, but what's the path to just being competitive? If you're sitting here at the trade deadline and you've won one game, and that was against the Jets team that was, scrambling to find anything at quarterback, and Zach Wilson's played better the last couple of weeks, but still big question mark there. You're facing a rebuild regardless. And do you want to go into a rebuild with a coach that probably isn't long for the job? I mean, he's getting older as well. Even if he wants to keep doing this, it feels so much like the game's passed him by a little bit. It started in the early kind of rising of Josh Allen and the Bills, years and years of dominance for him. And Josh Allen just had his way. After that 1 3-interception game, it's been just banger after banger for Allen against Belichick's defense. And that's just that's been the recipe to success all these years, is that defense was always going to be elite, and they're just not. They're giving up points, they're giving up yards. It's not as bad as I thought when I brought up all the stats, but it's still not, what you remember about this team. And that offense is anemic. They're averaging the second lowest points per game in the league.
I mean, the one fact that you can just throw out there that tells a story, there are only 2 more 1 o'clock Sunday kickoffs for the Buffalo Bills left, Matt, and they're both against the New England Patriots. Look, I love Sundays at 1 here, and it's just I never thought we'd be saying something like that. It's remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the good times don't last forever, right? Like, I mean, the Bills had it in not nearly to the successful run that the Patriots have had, but the 4 Super Bowls, that era of football was wonderful for, I know Bills fans would love the Super Bowl championship, but that kind of runs out after a while. And sometimes you fall on hard times. And plenty of teams across the league have dealt with worse, and the success that they've had over the last 20 years. I mean, I know they're Boston fans, so they probably won't admit it, but they could do with a decade of losing football. Why not?
Yeah, I think they get to the back of the line. So you mentioned the Shout podcast. People can check out the latest episode. What else do you got working this week, Matt?
Yeah, a couple more. We'll have our staple show tomorrow. We'll have coverage from One Bills Drive tomorrow. Update on Josh Allen. Kind of dig into this whole offensive conundrum and what they're kind of learning about how to unlock that third weapon, and just philosophically what they've been and what they want to be, and we'll have all of it at the website.
Yeah, Matt did not roll his eyes at me, our producer Dan DeLorean. So I'm just letting Dan know the story here. It was Sunday night, doing the Shout podcast afterward. I'm like, hey, if you're having trouble connecting with Ryan, I'm here in case you need me. And Matt was like, okay. Thanks.
I had you on standby, but the Wi-Fi, for whatever reason, was just tip-top that night, and got right through to him. So we'll go to the bullpen maybe next week. Next game.
Okay, we're ready. Matt, appreciate all the work you and Ryan are doing. We'll check out the Shout podcast. Thanks for your time today.
Later, buddy.
Thanks, man. Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard. Interesting takes there. I mean, there's a lot to discuss. Can we go back to the Daboll McDermott handshake? And look, I have to credit who was right there. It was Thad Brown. And like his crew was right there shooting that. Yeah, that looked like 2 men that don't like each other. And you forget 13 seconds was the last game for Daboll. So you didn't hear either coach mention the other coach. So there is a frosty relationship. And the one thing I'm looking forward to someday, hopefully, is the Buffalo Bills winning a Super Bowl. Because I think this region certainly deserves it. And if I had to write it, I would like the current cast and crew of the Buffalo Bills, meaning the coaches and the players. You want this, whether it's this year or the next year. You want McDermott and Allen and Diggs to get a championship. Okay, that being said, what happens when you win a championship? Well, there's endorsements, there's this, there's that. And people write books about it. What really happened? And like I read the Patriot book and by Wickersham, that was good. I think Matt Perino should be the guy that writes the Buffalo Bills book, because there are stories there, whether it's 13 seconds or the friction or what happened in the Tampa Bay game in the locker room. Like all these stories that you're hearing about that nobody can really go on the record. But when we get to a time and point years after the championship, it's like, okay, yeah, now's the time that here's what really happened with Diggs and there's so much about this team, and it's a credit to the PR staff of the Buffalo Bills, because in the drought era with Wales and with it was just a joke. You learned about stuff you shouldn't. They keep a lot of things in house there, so just kind of a thought. Just the way my mind works. We've got some fun things coming up next hour. We're going to talk to the head coach of the Rochester Americans, Seth Thappert, as Yeah, first time since '02, the Amerks open up with not one but two overtime games back to back. We also have some takes on tap. A retirement announcement that can never, ever be topped. I've got an opinion on former Rochester Red Wing Trevor May and who he lit up. Yeah. And also, as I crack my knuckles, with confidence, we will bring you our Week 7 Survive in Advance winner. Hopefully you are still in your Survivor pool. Danger's not here today, but I'm going to bring you the winner. My name is Gene Battaglia along with Dan DeLorean, and this is the Sports Bar on Rochester's only local sports talk show, The Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams from across the country and get the inside scoop from experts. AUDACY. Odyssey.
Providing healthcare to people who
WDF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Buffalo Sabres look for their first win of the season. They're going to be taking on the Lightning. 7:30 for the coverage here on the Fan Rochester tonight. We'll be joined by Amerks head coach Seth Apper later this hour. Bills players off today. There was a report earlier today the Bills were bringing in for a visit Leonard Fournette. That report ended up not being true. The Bills open as an 8.5-point favorite against the Patriots. Head coach Sean McDermott giving an update on Josh Allen.
Obviously, Josh is who he is and an important position and player on our team here, obviously. But he's day to day and he's certainly sore. At this point, we'll see where that goes.
Bills players back at practice tomorrow. Tonight it's Game 2 of the NLCS between the Phillies and Arizona at 8 o'clock. Philadelphia taking Game 1. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
The Bills don't like New England, and I think this week, I don't care who they throw at a quarterback, they're going to try to really embarrass them at home this weekend. This is the perfect opponent at the right time. They're wounded, and I think they're going to want to bury them even more.
I'm sure if you're a Bills fan, you're loving every second of it. But right now, it's crazy how the mighty have fallen.
The Bills team's got to worry about themselves first and wake up and go get a division win.
Mike Danger.
I feel like the Bills, when they play against a bad team, the Bills handle their business. And I expect that they'll do the same against the Patriots. The Patriots are a one-win team. They're a bad football team. Aren't you embarrassed if you're Bill Belichick?
Gene Battaglia.
We got to get better at everything, and we got a very difficult opponent. They play offense well, they play defense well. Do you want to ask a question about the game? We can talk about this week's game.
Sorry.
Yeah, Mac Jones is our quarterback.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Cowboys able to withstand the Chargers 20-17.
Oh, who cares?
Baseball playoffs. Playoffs? You kidding me?
Me and my Buffalo Sabres, yeah, yeah, yeah.
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Signing today for in the NFL, one that I'm sure Bills fans would be like, hey, why didn't our team do that? No, I'm not talking about Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette's just sitting out there. I don't know what's going on with that. The Eagles signing. I thought he was retired. And you're like, no, he's still out there. Julio Jones. Now, in terms of 100-yard receiving games in NFL history, number one's Jerry Rice. He's awesome. Number two, another Hall of Famer. That would be Randy Moss. Tied for third, Marvin Harrison, Hall of Famer, and Julio Jones. Now, Julio Jones is 34, and I'm not suggesting he's going to get 100-yard games, but he's reunited with A.J. Brown. He's in this offense, and can he be a guy that you can rely on, say, 3rd and 7? Kind of like the move for Philadelphia. I kind of like it. And, hey, we're all Eagle fans this week. Woo! Right? Because you're playing the Dolphins on Sunday Night Football. And also, I was going to save this for later, but, kind of like it. The Eagles are going to be wearing their Kelly Greens in this.
That's going to be nice.
So you have an elite uniform matchup here, but with the Eagles going throwback on Sunday Night Football. It's just I didn't even realize that Julio Jones was there for the taking. Now, he was with Tampa Bay last year.
He didn't do anything last year.
50 catches for 800 yards, 5 touchdowns. So, actually, no, I'm reading his career stats against the Eagles. So, yeah, he didn't do anything for Tampa Bay.
I remember he did very little in Tennessee, and then he didn't do anything last year with Tampa. He's definitely age has caught up to him.
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to ask for him to do much there. That's where, I would have liked that in Buffalo.
He's more of a name than he is really a threat.
How many times did we take calls, Dan? This is right around the era of, we trade before the Bills traded for Diggs. Got to trade for Julio Jones. Got to trade for Julio Jones. Got to trade for Julio Jones. But just quickly things end in the NFL.
And you're so much better off with Stephon.
Oh, you are. But it's also kind of noteworthy. How old is Julio Jones? 34.
34.
How old is Steph Diggs? 30. It's, it goes by too fast. 34 is, you are a young man at 34. In football, you're an old man at 34. We will have our Survive and Advance. That's coming up here in a little bit. This is the week. All right. If we're still allowed to say this, men from the boys, separating men. I know we want everything gender neutral now, but this is going to separate the men from the boys, all right, in your pool. Also, we'll be talking to head coach Seth Appert. Wayne Wilson, RIT Tigers, will be joining us in the 5 o'clock hour today. And we have time for your calls at 866-4326, 866-4FAN. Takes on tap here in the sports bar. Got a few opinions here. Look, there's another team that has no hope, a head coach that, there's a franchise that was really, really bad, right? And story is that there was a player from this team this past year that just announced yesterday retired. Now, if you are with us, in the sports bar, you hear us promoting, hey, we're on YouTube and we're on Twitch. You know why the reason we're doing that? Because a lot of people there, especially younger people, are using those platforms. And that's what pitcher Trevor May did yesterday. He was with the Red Wings for a while, and you kind of forget, okay, where was he? I didn't watch Oakland A's baseball.
Former Met?
Yeah, former Met too. But he ended up in Oakland. And on Twitch yesterday, he announced his retirement, which I think that's kind of cool. Like, sometimes you see it in a statement, sometimes you don't do anything. He's doing his own live video chat, but then he offers takes. And boy, did he offer a take on the Oakland A's here. Not just the A's. The owner of the Oakland A's, John Fisher, quote, "Sell the team, dude. Sell it, man. Like someone who actually takes pride in things they own something. There's something people who give a blank about the game. Let them do it. Take mommy and daddy's money somewhere else, you dork." I think we got to get the audio for this, Dad. It's take of the year.
That's great.
There's more. If you're going to be a greedy bleep, own it. There's nothing weaker than being afraid of cameras. Do what you're going to do, bro. Whatever. You're a billionaire. They exist. You guys have all this power. You shouldn't have any because you haven't earned any of it. But anyway, whatever. Okay. This is hilarious. So May's parents founded The Gap, or Gap, I guess it's called. This has been my take all along, okay? Why is Las Vegas settling for this owner in this baseball franchise? Like, all of a sudden, the A's are going to show up, and it's going to be the 1970s, or it's going to be 1990 again? No, it's the same bad owner, same bad management, same lousy players. Sorry, no offense, Trevor May, but even you were saying, hey, the good people of Oakland. Then he goes on, this rant was unbelievable, saying you're putting people out of work, which, yeah, that would be accurate. Not everybody's going to move to Las Vegas here. As much as I'd like to say this is going to be a fairy tale ending, it's not going to be. The owners are going to rubber stamp this because for multiple reasons. One, the stadium deal is done. They don't have to pay for majority of this. And two, with Tampa Bay Stadium now happening, which I thought I would never say those words too, owners now can begin the process of expansion. That will be the next thing as soon as Vegas gets their team, and that'll be announced before the holidays. And I think this sucks. You're going to have, now the sweepstakes, and it's going to be a sweepstakes, and it's going to get crazy because you have Nashville's group, you have Portland, Oregon, you have Charlotte. I would put a team in Montreal, but I don't know how the economics up there of building a stadium work out. We're going to learn a lot about this. And for Rob Manfred, okay, this has been your dream all along, and I've been saying this all along, Dan. With expansion will come massive realignment. That the old guard in baseball will not like this whatsoever, that you're going to have American and National League just kind of blown up, and you'll have it kind of like the NBA. You'll have your East, you'll have your West, which... If we're being honest with ourselves, with interleague play, isn't it kind of sort of like that right now?
I don't think it really matters anymore because you have teams play each other anyway. So,
what is it?
Maybe it's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean,
you could still have those rivalries.
You could. Would it be better to have a World Series of, say, the Braves and Phillies? I said the NLCS should have been the Braves and Phillies.
Maybe this year.
Yeah, the two best teams. You can't say the Phillies were the best team, but right now they're playing like they're the best team. And that felt kind of like, that should have been the main course, not a Not a second-round matchup. That's not no. So I think baseball has to figure some things out here. Something that got overlooked in Buffalo by us yesterday, but it's been pointed out. It was at trivia night last night, and Joey and Monica were out there, and they're like, "Hey, what'd you think of that ambulance?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I looked this up." The Buffalo Bills ambulance. Now it came out when Damian Harris was on the field. And that's, you never like to see the stretcher. You certainly don't like to see the ambulance. But there it was. And as it's driving away, and the cameras caught this, like, wait a second. Why is there still a number 3 on the ambulance? Did Damar Hamlin's number get retired? Are we still doing this? Or just somebody not paying attention to detail there? I understand, like, hey, that first week in January, I don't want to relive that. That was like one of the darkest days in Bills franchise history. Not knowing and just being there, and people were worried, and people were praying, and people were doing what they could. And even if that was putting a big number 3 on the side of your ambulance, and that was still up there, and it's kind of like awkward when Damar Hamlin's on the roster right now. And he's actually kind of appeared in games, so. Just kind of one of those things that, maybe that was not the best look for whoever runs that ambulance outfit. All right, Dan. I am ready. Let's hit the music here, bud. Yes! Soak it all in. You know why we're playing this? It's because we are now moving on to the 3rd weekend in October, and we are live. We are live. Actually, it'll be the 4th weekend, October 1st, 8th, 15th, 22nd by the time we get to kick off on Sunday. And if you've been with us in the sports bar and you've taken our advice here, what the heck? Oh, I see. It's not going to let me do it, Dan. Oh, my goodness. All right, fine. We'll have to live without it.
Okay.
Things we learn here on the show.
It was fun while it lasted.
Yeah, it was fun while it lasted. Can't click on 2 things at once. It was fun while it lasted, but let's review here, as there are some rules here. And my rules are, you don't want to pick a road team. You don't want to pick a divisional game. You want to favor by more than 5. Your best team, you pick your best team. You're not saving your team. Like, well, I don't. No, you pick your best team. Bad defenses are bad plays. That is going to come into play this week. Or, if you're playing a bad defense, that also helps too. And no kill shot. Okay, meaning you should not. Here's a spoiler alert. I'm going to take the Bears this week because the Bears, this is my only chance to take the Bears, and they're playing the Raiders at home. And no, it's going to be Nate Peterman. I don't know who's going to be a quarterback. Justin Fields is going to be out. But no. You in cross country, in any form of running, they say you run your race. I'm running somebody else's race. So we're running our own race here, Dan. We're not going to win the pool this week.
No,
we're not going to win the pool next week. We're just concerned about getting you to week 8. We're in week 7. This is how it works. It's a process here in the sports bar. So to kind of review, there are teams that we cannot choose. Okay, we cannot choose Baltimore. We use them week 1. We cannot choose Buffalo. We cannot choose Kansas City from week 3. We cannot choose Dallas. We cannot choose Detroit. We cannot use Miami. For that reason, I'm not going to entertain any of those games, okay? Say, for example, Detroit and Baltimore. Well, no, it's irrelevant. There's another way you can look at it, though, at this point, and that is, who have we picked against? Because this is a good tool, too. We picked against the Texans. We picked against the Raiders. We picked against the Bears. Dallas, we picked against the Patriots. And we picked against the Panthers, and we picked against the Panthers. And, all right, Panthers on the bye. In fact, 6 teams are on the bye. Fantastic. It'd be good to go against the Patriots. We already used the Buffalo Bills. Cannot do that. And as I mentioned, the Bears are... I'm not taking the Raiders this week. I'm sorry. That's bad team against bad team. That is a bad play. So with that, and look, your chances are you're in the same predicament. Let's kind of go over the process of elimination. I'm just going to cross off the divisional games this week. Atlanta, Tampa Bay, Commanders, Giants. Again, another bad team. Arizona, Seattle. That's a divisional game. You eliminate the road favorites. We're not picking Vegas by 3 at Chicago. We're not picking the Browns -2 at Indy. You'd think that'd be more. That's curious. It's not. And the Niners are giving 7 at Minnesota. Green Bay is -1 at Denver. We don't want any of the small number favorites. The Jags and the Saints is a pick 'em. The Rams are home by 3.5 over Pittsburgh, which, that leaves us with nothing. Absolutely nothing. All right, time to review. Oh, there's one other, and I don't want anything to do with Miami and Philadelphia on Monday Night Football. It's a good team against a good team. Could be final possession. It shouldn't shock you if that game goes either way. Look, I'm not advising picking Philadelphia on Monday night. I'm crossing that one off. So I am going to bring back from this list 2 games. I'm going to bring back one divisional game where Seattle is giving 8 to Arizona. And I'm bringing back one road team. Dan, you want to share? Because I think you might know.
You're taking the San Francisco 49ers over my Minnesota Vikings.
I'm not taking them. I'm bringing that back.
Yeah, I know.
I'm bringing that back. I'm bringing that back. And we're going to discuss this. Let's discuss this. Because now comes the pivotal point here.
Pivotal.
Where we're going to violate a rule because we have no choice but to violate a rule. This is where we're at here. And I'm not apologizing. We got you to this point, and I'm not apologizing for, well, it should have taken. No, we're fine. We're fine. Arizona has the 7th worst defense in the league. Seattle gave Cincinnati a heck of a game last week. Seattle's going back home. My concern is Arizona always gives Seattle a game. San Francisco, coming off a tough loss. San Francisco going from Cleveland back to the Bay, now back to the Midwest. Granted, they get the extra day, but on the negative side, we don't know anything right now on a Tuesday about Christian McCaffrey. We don't know anything about Deebo Samuel. I don't think it's trending in the right direction. Let's just put it that way. However, you have primetime Kirk Cousins, 11-19 all-time in primetime games. I thought the record would be much worse. It's not. But you are always leery of the home underdog on Monday Night Football. So if the Niners had their complement, I don't think we're thinking twice, but they don't. That's a fact. Now, what I could do is just defer this. We've done that, I think, years ago. There was some injury concern where, like, sorry, folks, no pick today. Come back. Like Wally World. Sorry, folks, park's closed. Come back on Friday. No, we're not going to do that. You know why? Because Arizona has a bad defense, Dan Drummy. That's going to be the pick. Oh, yeah, let's fire up that music again, yeah. Yeah, give me the music, Dan. Come on, buddy. Yeah! You be confident. Pete Carroll is going to lead us to week number 8. The Seahawks, much better team, much better wide receivers, and yes, the much better fan base. Yeah, the 12s are going to lead us to the promised land. Controversial pick here in the sports bar, but Seattle is your week number 7 pick. Book it now and thank me on Monday. I couldn't do it, Dan. I couldn't do it. Now we go to Dan DeLorean. If you're new to the show, he's a Viking fan. And when I tell you that you did not factor into my decision whatsoever, okay. That is fine. Dan, your thoughts should have been the Seahawks, should have been the Niners, should have been somebody else.
It should have been Seattle. That was where I was going with. Seattle was my pick as well. I wouldn't have faulted anybody. I don't think if anybody wants to, you can take the Niners. I think they're still going to crush my Vikings. Listen, they're angry. They just lost to the Browns, where they probably should have won. They're not going to make the same mistake twice. They're going to probably dismantle my Vikings on Monday Night Football.
So that's you as a fan talking. You
Yes,
as a fan.
But I
yeah.
mean, it's Kirk Cousins. It's prime time. They're without the best receiver in the NFL in Justin Jefferson. They're not a good defense. Their offensive line is not very good. And last I checked, the Niners have, Joey Bosa, or one of the Bosa brothers on the outside. And they're ridiculous, and they have Kyle Shanahan, and they're going to just take apart my Vikings on Monday Night Football. It's going to be horrible.
Ladies and gentlemen, you were listening to a defeated man, a defeated fan, Dan the Fan of the Minnesota Vikings. On the Fan. Seattle will be just okay.
Yes.
Like Arizona, as you say to a team that's outmanned, bless their hearts. Bless their hearts.
Yes.
But let's not forget, they're quietly tanking. Yes, they are. And they really don't have all that much on offense right now with James Conner and anything else. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. So we are going to take the divisional game, and this is the best course of action. Look, you can trust me or not. You can take the advice or not. But I would just say, look, we always go to that 1 year of, roll the tape. We're out week one. But more often than not, we get it right.
The Cincinnati New York Jets a couple years ago was one that still bothers me.
That was on Halloween. That was the Mike White game. And that was one thing where we have to learn whenever you have a backup quarterback, what are you going against? And you really don't know.
Yeah.
It's the variables. And with the Niners right now, too many variables.
And we saw that this past week with the Niners and the Eagles.
So, full disclosure, I kind of like, sometimes I surprise Danger on the air. This time I did not, because he was like, whoa, what are you thinking? And I'm like, this is what I'm thinking. He's like, yep, I like it. So he's on board with Seattle as your week 7 pick. Seth Appert is the head coach of the Rochester Americans. They are on their way to Laval. We'll talk to the head coach coming up next. On the other side of that, we got time for calls at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. It's Gene Battaglia. Danger back tomorrow. Dan DeLorean here as well today, here on the Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams.
Sports Update.
Buffalo Sabres looking for their first win of the season tonight. They're taking on the Lightning. Head coach Don Granato of Buffalo knows it's tough going against Braden Point.
He's a great athlete. He's dynamic, speed, quickness, and he has such a high hockey IQ. You couple that with his speed and quickness, and he's always dangerous, always somebody you have to respect. He's on a line with Kucherov, so it's great players with great players.
7:30 for the coverage here tonight on the Fan, Sabres and Lightning. We're going to talk some Amerks hockey coming up next. Head coach Seth Appert joining us in the sports bar. Bills players are off today. There were reports this morning that Leonard Fournette was coming in for a visit. Those reports not accurate. The Bills opening as an 8.5-point favorite against the Patriots. Game 2 between the Phillies and Arizona tonight. Gene Battaglia and the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
They've raised the bar on Rochester Sports Talk. You're in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Over the line, giving it off to Kalik. They'll drop it there, gets a return pass, one-time shot, scores! Yuri Kalik, a one-timer, sneaks by the leg of Petroselli. OT victory for the Amerks.
Yeah, interesting weekend, and the Amerks clawing their way back on Saturday afternoon or into the evening, defeating the Marlies. The call courtesy of Don Stevens, as heard here on the Fan Rochester. We welcome in the head coach of the Rochester Americans, Seth Appert, who is kind enough to do this on a travel day. Seth, you're on your way to Laval. Which side of the border are you on right now?
We are in Canada. We are probably within 20, 30 minutes of getting to Laval and dropping our stuff and having a team dinner.
Nice. Perfect timing here to get you for if you really appreciate you giving us a few minutes. And Seth, I think that stat, like this is the first time since 2002, the Amerks going to overtime in their first 2 games of the season. Your thoughts on the opening weekend for your club?
I mean, we had like 20 some of these, I think, last year. So it feels like every game's in overtime. Now, counting the exhibition, 3 out of 4 have been. So, I think that the good thing is we found a way to get 3 points. I think anytime you get 3 points out of 4, you're going to take that. The second good thing would be a lot of resilience, staying together. We were down 2-0 in the first game. We fought back and had a lead before losing in overtime. We're down 4-1 to a really good Toronto team. They've got a really strong lineup, and they were fresh. They didn't play the night before we did. So to come back in third period in that situation was great to see. Shows the character that's in that locker room. But with the exception of those 2 things, then we were pretty sloppy in some areas, certainly in our puck management and our team defensive play and areas that we got to clean up, which is expected this time of the season.
Yeah, the third period up in Toronto, Seth, what did you say to the guys out shooting the Marlies 10-0 down the stretch there?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to say that I gave some amazing speech, but I don't think it was really that. All we talked about going into the third is, let's not worry about the score or the standings. It's too early in the season to worry about that stuff. But let's start fighting to be a team that we want to play for, that plays the right way, has pride in the things that we do. And to me, that was the most important thing of that third period was going to be how we played, not how we played, not what the result ended up. The result was going to be the result. There's 70 games left. It was great that we found a way to get the result. But I think at the end of the day, we needed to play more the right way, and I think that was a good thing that we did.
Everything okay there, Seth? Somebody cut you off?
Fine.
Okay. Seth Appert, Rochester Americans head coach, as Michael Hauser gets the call up to Buffalo. I suppose we'd have to let him go, but can we keep him here in Rochester? 39 saves there. What can you say about the house cat there in Saturday's victory?
Yeah, Hauser's awesome. I thought both goalies played well for us. They Cooley and Hauser both did a good job when we were sloppy. And even though the teams got leads on us, they did a good job of keeping it at a number that was manageable for us in terms of trying to claw our way back, both games. So Michael Hauser's just a guy that wherever he plays, whether it's in the East Coast League, the American League, the NHL, guys want to play for him. He's an unbelievable teammate. His work ethic's incredible. And in that game, you really felt that guys like Jeremy Davies, Ethan Prow, Michael Mersch, Brett Murray, Hauser, some of those guys are core guys for us that have kind of been through a lot with us the last couple of years, were the real drivers of leading us back in that game.
We're talking to Amerks head coach Seth Appert, first of two up in Laval. That'll be tomorrow night here on the Fan Rochester. Don Stevens will have the call. Seth, if we can go back to Friday night for just a second, I don't want to take this for granted, knowing what we kind of went through a few years ago. Your thoughts on, there's a pretty decent crowd there. Good support here from the community coming right out of the gate.
Yeah, the crowds have been awesome. I mean, I think we were near 7,000 that night, which for Friday in October is excellent. You're never going to have as big a crowds in the American League early in the season. But in the second half of last year, and then obviously the playoffs, it seemed like if it was a Friday or a Saturday night or a Sunday afternoon, we were getting 6,500 to sold out, somewhere in there. So I think when that building gets above 6, the energy and the atmosphere in there becomes electric, and it's a very, very demanding place to play for our opponents.
Seth, same question I asked you last week, and it's not lines, it's pairs, and again, it's only weekend number 2 of the season here, but are things coming into a little more focus now, or are you viewing this weekend as an opportunity? All right, let's try some new things out here.
Yeah, with lines, I'd say we're not there yet. I changed a couple of the lines going into the third period, so it'll be interesting to see if one or two of those lines can maintain some of the momentum and synergy that they had for just one period and leading us back. I thought the line of Murray, Kozak, and Cedarquist, which is a real heavy physical line, was a big part of leading us back into that game with their physical play that gave us a lot of energy. So I think it's early for that. And again, for me, I try not to get too tied up with lines in the American League because usually they're going to change, whether it's because they run dry or because Buffalo calls somebody up or there's injuries or whatever it is. So we try to maintain flexibility in terms of line combinations.
So first meeting against Laval this season, what is new with that team? What can we kind of expect tomorrow and Friday night as well here, Seth?
Well, they're a really good team. They've similar style that they've had the last couple of years. Jeff Hull's a very good coach. They play a very hyper-frenetic, chaotic a little bit style. It's not chaotic for them. I mean, they're doing it intentionally, but it can feel chaotic against them. They play extremely aggressive, shoot from everywhere, try to put you in some real uncomfortable situations. And then the crowd adds to that. They've had a very good, extremely good home record in the last couple of years because the crowd here is amazing, and the style they play kind of whips them up into a frenzy, and it can get you spinning a little bit. So we're going to have to defend better than we did last weekend. The better defense you play against this team, the more offense that you'll get in return.
Yeah, Seth, I know you got the team dinner tonight, and you probably got your other responsibilities, but do you get a chance to at least put it up on a monitor? Like, how does it work when the Sabres are playing on a night like tonight? And I'm curious what would happen. And you want to watch this too here. Do you get any opportunity to watch the Sabres tonight?
Yeah, Amir Galati, who's in charge of team services and video for us, has been informed that the Sabres game will be on in the restaurant for us. Otherwise, he might be losing his job. So, we'll see where the night goes. We might have an opening come tomorrow morning on our staff. So we'll just see. But ideally, we will have that Sabres game on. We enjoy watching them. Obviously, so close with the coaching staff, coach so many of those players now. And it's a big game early in the season. Tampa Bay's in a situation they need to win. Sabres in a situation we need to win. So for early season hockey, it's a pretty big game tonight.
Yeah, Seth, I hope that you don't spend too much time on social media because it can be a toxic place. And for example, all right, the Sabres lose to the Rangers, and you would think, oh my gosh, that was just, talk people off the ledge here, because I felt like I was doing that last week. It's It's the first week in October here. This is such a long season. We are playing a sport where there's going to be twists and turns, everything. This is not the NFL where you only get 17 games.
No, it's not. I mean, it's certainly. I mean, right? Our fans, the Buffalo fans, have seen it the other way, where the teams had great starts sometimes in the last 10 years, and then it's went off the rails. So I think the most important thing early in the season is you start playing the right way. Like I said, going into the third period in Toronto, results. Do you want to win? Of course, you want to win, and we're all competitors. We're in these positions because we're high end competitors, and we love competing and winning. But early in the season, it's more about, are we playing the right way? And that's a big thing. The Sabres just want to try to chip away at building an identity, being hard to play against, playing the way they want to play. Usually that's going to lead to wins. It might not every night. It might not tonight. But if you play the right way more often than not, you're going to get rewarded.
Yeah, I don't know if you can comment on this or not, but like the one question I think a lot of Sabre fans are wondering, are they going to keep Zach Benson? It's one of those arguments I see from both sides, but I don't know if you can offer any insight here, but the way he's playing, if he puts up another few games, I can't imagine them sending back the 18-year-old to junior.
Well, right. I mean, those decisions are made up top by management and Donnie, but credit to the kid. I mean, he is not only in training camp, but now in these first couple games, he's making that decision very hard, and that's what you want to do as a player, as an athlete. You want to force your way in, and you want to play so well, not only offensively but defensively in his puck battles and how tenacious he is on the puck, and you want to make it very difficult for them to turn you away, and that's what he's done, and that's a real credit to him. Now, doing it over and over and over at 18 years old in the best league in the world is going to be hard, but so far he's passing all tests with flying colors, and that's a real credit to him. It's also a credit to our scouting staff and management staff for finding that caliber player with the 13th pick.
Do you invite Don Stevens to dinner tonight, or does he stay back at the hotel, Seth?
It's a little 50-50 there. It's kind of, we'll see where the evening takes him, and certainly is welcome, though. He knows that.
Seth Appert, head coach of the Rochester Americans. Good luck up there outside of Montreal this week. And, and we'll get you back home next week against Charlotte. Thanks for your time today, Seth.
Thanks. Appreciate you having me on.
Seth Appert, head coach of the Rochester Americans. As Don, I've known Don for years. He likes to take this time to prepare. So sometimes it's not a social thing there, but I think that's kind of cool. Like, you want to go out and, I would think the Sabre game, even though it doesn't have anything to do with the Montreal Canadiens, will be on somewhere that you can kind of go watch it. So
they're the parent club, and they want to show support for their guys. And I mean, these are teammates too. They probably know these guys. Probably know each other from past history playing together. So I mean, they know each other from the Emerge Sabres organization. So they want to root on their team.
Now, more often than not, when you're on these bus trips, the coach will sit, if not in the first seat, but in the second seat, right up front.
Yeah.
So it's within that, because you had the same look I did. Like, did we just hear an accident? What was that? Like,
blaring horn.
Blaring horn. That was just the bus driver hitting the horn there. So Seth's like, no, that's nothing to worry about. Don will have the call tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, the Amerks and Laval. We have time for your calls and your takes here. Chris writing in. This goes back to the news that the Eagles signed Julio Jones today. The Eagles signing Julio Jones does not move the needle. He did little to nothing in Tennessee. He did nothing in Tampa. He's washed. Okay, that I will listen to that. If he's washed, then you just got to move on. But I'm just wondering how many Bills fans would have been like, yeah, that would have been nice to kind of get him in here at this point.
Well, I don't know what Bean is looking for. I imagine Bean's looking for someone a little bit younger. I know you want someone who's experienced and reliable, but I think you want someone within a certain range who isn't, past their prime, like Julio.
Yeah, if you weren't with us last hour before the Julio Jones news he signed with Philadelphia, we talked to Matt Perino, and I asked him, like, wait a second, what were all these reports today about Leonard Fournette coming in for a visit, and I forget how Jordan Schultz reported it, but it was, let me make sure that I'm not overstepping here, Dan, because Honestly, I think this is also part of the story here. There's a good chance he signs with Buffalo. That's how I'm like, whoa, okay. Matt Paredes like, no, careful where you get your news from.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is an example of this was the agent going, aha, there's an injury in Buffalo. Let me call and make sure that my client gets an opportunity. That's what an agent's supposed to do. And then whatever trip was scheduled was canceled. I'm gonna fill you in here on this, folks. Ty Johnson is already on the practice squad. He's the next man up. If Leonard Fournette wanted a spot on the practice squad, he could do that. You need somebody this week with only 2 running backs right now on the roster. We're assuming Damian Harris is not going to get cleared on concussion protocol, okay? For that reason, that's why Ty Johnson getting elevated this week makes a lot of sense. You don't even know if Leonard Fournette is ready to go in football shape. That's part of this. Like, he's been on the beach or doing whatever at this point. Or he could have been on a practice squad getting himself prepared for any team at this point. So, any team that signs Leonard Fournette, you think that you're going to pluck him in and he'll be your number 2 running back and you can give him 10 carries for 40 yards. You know that's not the way this league works. It's just not. So, I'm totally fine with the Buffalo Bills saying, you know what? They haven't said anything yet, okay? But the idea that Leonard Fournette did not get signed or that wasn't even real, it just kind of made for an interesting sidebar because normally on a Tuesday, you don't get Bills news. This is the day where everybody's off. It'll be back tomorrow where the McDermott McFlys, Dan, I think they're going to be plentiful when you're playing the New England Patriots. Sorry to Roger and Pizza Dude and all my Patriot friends. Your sad sack New England Patriots. Yes, you can go, ooh, I can't hear you. Look at my rings. Okay, fine. I'm just talking about 2023 here, okay? If the Bills lose to the Patriots, it's over for the Bills this season.
You'd be in some pretty serious hot water,
yeah,
too.
That would be it. Well, thank you. The Bills are not in hot water.
Well, if they lose to the Patriots, they might be.
They might be. But you can see how good hot water can be. As Dan DeLorean is a true radio professional. You can see how good hot water can be at Ace Swim and Leisure. They've been serving Rochester area families since 1962, and it isn't very often something comes along as cool and different as the all-new jacuzzi swim spa. It's the right size, it's the right price, it's the pool spa combo that gives you the pro-grade water workout and therapeutic water massage. Go on in today. Check it out for yourself, the new jacuzzi swim spa at Ace Swim and Leisure's Chi-Li Avenue store today or aceswim.com.
When people have a craving to explore new and traditional Asian cuisines,
home by asking it to play 95.7 The Fan.
As we get to NFL appetizers here in the sports bar, we're wondering, wait a second, why aren't the Browns favored by more in Indianapolis? It just seems like they would be more. The Browns is a very small favorite, and apparently the betting public is not, kind of behind the Browns not knowing what's at quarterback. But then you have this story coming across today. Colts nose tackle Grover Stewart, who he's a really good run stopper. He's been suspended 6 games, PED. He was in the final year of a 3-year, $30 million deal. Oops. So that maybe that'll change things. We're not going to change our survive in advance pick, though. We are not taking a home underdog.
What is worse, PED suspension or the betting suspension? What is the worst image for the league?
Ooh, you ask good questions, Dan.
I'll try.
The betting suspension, because you're taking money from it. And because you're taking money from it and there's an inherent conflict of interest, that's why I think the betting thing kind of all right, when somebody comes across what will happen someday, and this may happen when you have a big name. And you could say, well, Calvin Ridley was with Atlanta, and it was already nearing the end of the year. So that was you made him sit for a full year, which that was different. But no, I'm talking like a quarterback or big name player that does this. That'll be a problem. But you could say it's the same thing. You're making your own decisions. You know the rules here going in. That's not the only Colts news today. Jim Irsay today. Boy, way to know gamesmanship. Jim Irsay, when it comes to crazy NFL owners, he might be king alien, okay? Guy literally, for his chair, sits on a throne. He made it look like a throne. He's a little out there. He thought it was a great idea to call up Jeff Saturday, who's never coached anything, high school otherwise, and be a head coach in the NFL. Yeah, and you won your first game against the Raiders and then nothing after that. Oh, and also you gave up the biggest lead in NFL history against the Vikings. Anthony Richardson, according to Jim Irsay, probably going to miss the rest of the regular season. Oh, and could undergo shoulder surgery. Now, this is Irsay telling this to ESPN, where normally you don't get these kind of declarations until you're absolutely sure. So, no, we don't know Richardson's going under the knife. But if that's the way he's leaning, then that would be the case. No final decisions have been made. Short week for Jacksonville as they play in New Orleans tomorrow. And we're playing the will he or won't he. Now, Trevor Lawrence, question mark for this game. He says he's going to go. He's got the knee sprain. If he can't, the backup is C.J. Beathard. 12 career starts. He was also with the Niners. All those starts, 2-10. Hasn't made a start since 2020. How did you spend your weekend? Dan, what did you do this past week?
Let's see. Thursday, I went to the Sabres. Friday, I went to the Amherst. Saturday, I went to RIT.
I can guarantee your weekend was much better than Antonio Brown. Brown spent his weekend in jail. Yeah, neglecting to pay child support, allegedly, to the mother of one of his children, the 35-year-old Antonio Brown. Oh, Antonio, Julio Jones, 34 today, just got signed. Antonio Brown, nobody will ever touch again in this league. I can guarantee that. The matter concerns his 15-year-old daughter. I honestly don't know how many children that Brown has, but he's got a 15-year-old who apparently he has no contact with. Kind of sad.
Yeah.
On a much lighter note, Sunday night football this week. Okay, it's already good. And if you're a Bills fan, you're going to be cheering for the Philadelphia Eagles. They host Miami. This is a good matchup. Can we all agree on that? But Philadelphia has just gotten a little extra juice for this game. I don't know if we have the music here, Dan, when we're talking about the Kelly Greens.
Okay. Hold on. So, you said, yeah. She said, let's see.
Yeah. Woo. Hot uniform talk here in the sports bar as Philadelphia. Boy, it must be fun to be in that town where they're talking about Red October and you're talking about the Eagles, and the Eagles are breaking out the throwbacks, the Kelly Greens for the first time. The throwback to Randall Cunningham. Oh, I can see him throwing to Mike Quick. I can see Reggie White coming around the corner. I can see the late Jerome Brown looking down at us. Actually, Reggie White is lost too. Boy, that was a long time ago. Point is, Philadelphia going to wear the throwbacks against Miami coming up on Sunday Night Football, which that is an elite uniform matchup. Here's an unpopular opinion. People love the Chargers. No, the Chargers have made it worse. Like the Chargers, when they had the navy and the white, or even if you go back, like this current, whatever you call it, white helmets and the powder blue jersey and the yellow pants, like
I kind of like the new Chargers, but I see your point, and I saw your tweet.
It was and you didn't like my tweet.
I probably would keep scrolling. Just keep scrolling.
Wait,
just log off.
It's not called a tweet anymore. It's called a post, Dan.
Oh, okay, sorry.
It's not called Twitter anymore. It's called X.
Today, Gino, it will be Twitter.
Forever on that. You are welcome to reach out to us on X or whatever you want to call it at The Fan Rochester. You can give us a call at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. We're going to talk to Andy Behrens, as we always do on a Thursday, and get his thoughts on how to optimize your lineup. In advance of that, time for who's hot and who's cold in the sports bar in terms of fantasy. And who is hot? Well, even though the Eagles have this great run defense, if you have a running back that has 11 touchdowns through the first 6 games, who is that? It's Raheem Mostert.
Oh, okay. I'm like, who?
Yeah, that's where, Raheem Mostert's going up against this Eagles defense this week. So where you might be like, oh, I don't know about that. No, you're playing Raheem Mostert and the Miami Dolphins. By the way, the last running back to do that in the league, got to go back to 2018. Any guesses, Dan? Any guesses? I'll give you a hint. Burned brightly and then quickly went out. Todd Gurley.
Oh, yeah.
Todd
Gurley
was great.
Yes, he was.
He was great. And then he got his second contract and not so great. And I just remember that scene, the arthritis in the knee. He couldn't even get on the field during the Super Bowl. He was riding the exercise bike, just trying to get it worked out there in the Super Bowl. That was just not...
horrible game.
Yeah, 10-3 that game. Who is cold in the Super Bowl? Well, excuse me. Who's cold in fantasy football? I'm going to go with Tutu Atwell. It's not anything he's doing wrong for the Rams. They're taking on the Steelers, but feel free to drop him tonight because did you check out Cooper Kupp's time? 7 receptions, 148 yards, and the 1 touchdown.
He's back.
Granted, that was against Arizona, but forget it. Like Tutu Atwell, and for that matter, any other receiver, you're going to run the offense.
Who do they have out there? They have that Nakua?
Yeah,
that new kid?
Puka Nakua. Yeah, you're probably not dumping Nakua, but that's why I'm going with Tutu Atwell as being our cold player. Who's hot and who's cold in fantasy football? Brought to you by Air-Quip Heating and Air Conditioning. It's fun and challenging to know when to start a player who's heating up or bench one who's cooling off. It's not fun to be too hot. It's not fun to be too cold in your home or business. Make the best lineup you can and make the best decision you can. Call Air-Quip today. We've got happy hour on the way. We've got time for your calls at 866-4326. In fact, if you want to call us, you got to do it next because, we got head coach Wayne Wilson of the RIT Tigers who are coming off a win. I'm standing up a little proud here, Dan, beating Notre Dame.
Go Tigers.
Yeah, go Tigers. Go Tigers. We'll be talking to Wayne later this hour. So, again, give us a call at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Gene Battaglia in today. Mike Danger will be back tomorrow. Dan DeLorean along today as well, here on The Fan Rochester.
Undefeated UNC.
W239BF Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Bills players off today. There were multiple reports this morning the Bills were bringing in for a visit free agent running back Leonard Fournette. Turns out that didn't happen. Not even sure if the reports were accurate. The Buffalo Bills opening as an 8.5-point favorite against the Patriots. Of course, the concern is, what's the status of Josh Allen? Here's Sean McDermott.
Obviously, Josh is who he is and an important position and player on our team here, obviously. But he's day to day, and he's certainly sore. At this point, we'll see where that goes.
Buffalo Sabres look for their first win of the season tonight, taking on the Lightning. We'll have the coverage beginning at 7:30 here on the Fan Rochester. It's Game 2 of the NLCS tonight between the Phillies and Arizona. Philadelphia taking Game 1. First pitch at 8:07. Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, the Fan Rochester.
Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
The Bills don't like New England, and I think this week, I don't care who they throw at a quarterback, they're going to try to really embarrass them at home this weekend. This is the perfect opponent at the right time. They're wounded, and I think they're going to want to bury them even more.
I'm sure if you're a Bills fan, you're loving every second of it. But right now, it's crazy how the mighty have fallen.
The Bills team's got to worry about themselves first and wake up and go get a division win.
Mike Danger.
I feel like the Bills, when they play against a bad team, the Bills handle their business. And I expect that they'll do the same against the Patriots. The Patriots are a one-win team. They're a bad football team. Aren't you embarrassed if you're Bill Belichick?
Gene Battaglia.
We got to get better at everything. And we got a very difficult opponent. They play offense well. They play defense well. Do you want to ask a question about the game? We can talk about this week's game.
Sorry.
Mac Jones is our quarterback.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Cowboys able to withstand the Chargers 20-17.
Oh, who cares?
Baseball playoffs.
Playoffs? You kidding me? Me and my Buffalo Sabres, yeah, yeah, yeah.
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Rolling into happy hour. Glad you're with us here in the Sports Bar. Gene Battaglia with you. Mike Danger. I'm not going to, whenever I'm out, Danger's like, Gene's on assignment. I'm like, no, I'm working or I'm doing it. Danger is with his daughter today, which is fantastic. His daughter is on the golf team at Mercy, and they're doing an event where the players can bring their dads or whoever they like, and you go out for a round of golf, and then you have a banquet. I'm like, dude, go have fun. So Danger will be back tomorrow here in the Sports Bar. Dan DeLorean having some fun. I appreciate you because you're here. Your shift begins much earlier for One Bills Live, so you're a little overtime here today.
I'm okay. I'll be all right.
Okay, you're going to power through this.
That's right.
Yeah, we work hard. If you were with us earlier today, we made our Survive in Advance pick. Now, this from Adam Schefter just a few minutes ago. None of the injuries to the 49ers standouts, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Trent Williams, are considered long-term. Each has a chance to be ready for Monday night in Minnesota. Okay, how much does this change our opinion, our pick?
0.
Nothing. It does not. It's called injury fog. Well, they might be there. They might be not. No, I'm not even going to go to that. Our pick is Seattle. Does that violate a rule? You betcha. But it would also violate a rule taking the Niners on the road against a home underdog on Monday night. For as good as the Niners are, we're not doing this to save the Niners. We're doing this because Arizona is a bad football team, and now they are regressing to the mean. They don't have a running back. They barely have a passing attack. And if you look at Seattle, they're coming off a really tough loss at Cincinnati. They went toe-to-toe with the Bengals. In fact, probably should have won that game. So they're heading back home. How do you feel if you're Seattle? Pick confidently. Follow our lead here in the Sports Bar or not. We're recommending Seattle as your choice. We have time for your calls here now at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. We'll have shots coming up here, some of the stories we did not get to, and then we have RIT men's hockey coach Wayne Wilson joining us later in the hour. So what I'm saying is, if you want to call, you got to do it right now. The story this morning concerning the Buffalo Bills was about Leonard Fournette. Okay. And the report from Jordan Schultz, who we've had on the show. And if you're not familiar with Jordan Schultz, he fancies himself as an insider. He doesn't really have like a network affiliation, but he does this. And I didn't even realize this until Danger pointed this out. He's the son of the guy who invented Starbucks. Or like, oh, okay. So just kind of taken for that, But he was the one who had the report that not only was Leonard Fournette making a visit, there is a finger quote, good chance he signs with the Buffalo Bills. Like, wow. Well, almost as quickly as that report came out, nope, the trip has been canceled. Canceled. No more trip. Like, wait a second. What is this all about? Are we just making up stories? No, let me kind of interpret the whole storyline here for you. Do I think that maybe the agent was calling up Brandon Beane? Absolutely. Do I think that maybe the agent was being opportunistic? Yeah, it's kind of a cruel world. It's a cruel sport, this NFL. Hey, your running back left in an ambulance. Thankfully, he's okay, but you need a running back. Damian Harris is in concussion protocol. Damian Harris has a neck sprain. We don't know anything, officially about Damian Harris. We'll get an update tomorrow. But I think it's fair to say, at the very least, he's a question mark for the Patriot game, probably. Okay. Well, where do the Bills go? Because they were already thin at the position. You have only 2 healthy running backs on the roster right now. Latavius Murray, not to be confused with DeMarco Murray, as well as James Cook, not to be confused with Dalvin Cook. So Murray and Cook, and that's it. Who's on the practice squad? We pointed this out. Bills have only 1 running back on the practice squad. That's Ty Johnson. And we didn't get a beat on Ty Johnson because, well, in part, he came in camp really late. In fact, I didn't see him at all at Fisher. He was signed afterward. Like, who is he? Well, he was with the Jets last year, was their 3rd down running back, did some special teams, kind of fits all those things you would want out of that sort of running back. And the Bills brought him in, and that last preseason game against the Bears that you or I or anybody else barely remembers. Let's just kind of put that into context here. Like it's a preseason game, whatever. Well, he rushed 11 times for 50 yards. Well, congratulations, you're on the practice squad. If you are in need of a running back active this week, who are you going to trust more? The running back who has done this in the league, who has actually been on your practice squad and is healthy, versus, somebody that has a good resume, you don't even know if he's in football shape. That's a big difference. So if the Bills were saying, we'd like to talk to you, and we'd also like to invite you and have a spot on the practice squad. Oh, practice squad. I'm Leonard Fournette. I can't be on the practice squad. Well, I think that's kind of my interpretation here, because Leonard Fournette has had opportunities before this, I'm sure, to sign with any team. And maybe it is swallowing a little bit of pride. But at this point in the season, you're going to stick with your guys unless you kind of take this route. And if you don't believe me, look at recent history, okay? The Bills brought back Cole Beasley last year. How did Cole Beasley get back on the roster? Practice squad first. Wanted to make sure that he was up to speed and everything. That was somebody you already knew. You already knew the playbook. You already knew pretty much everything he needed to know. Same thing with John Brown last year. So, yeah, I think it's going to be Ty Johnson that gets elevated this week. And it is the Patriots. So, when you get home tonight and you see Leonard Fournette, what's that all about? And Matt Perino kind of broke it down, right? Like, look, when Perino goes to listen, make sure you get listen, that's a Brandon Beane. Listen. Hey, make sure you know where you get your news from here on the Bills. He's like, okay, yep, that's 100% accurate. And it's also a Tuesday where we kind of make things out bigger than they are, which, hey, well, that signing, the Leonard Fournette thing, didn't happen, wasn't even real as far as we know. There is one signing that indeed happened, indeed was real, indeed was like, wait, where did that come from? I didn't even know the Philadelphia Eagles were weak at wide receiver, but they're bringing him into the room. Julio Jones is back into the NFL. And I would just kind of throw this out to Bills fans. Does that make it a little envious? Because I am of the belief that if the Bills are going to make a move at the trade deadline, it's not going to be for linebacker. I don't think you need a pass rusher. I think you're pretty stacked there. I would entertain Corum, no doubt. And it's not going to be Patrick Surtain or anybody like that. It's probably going to be somebody you've never heard of. And it'd be wide receiver. I think that they are dangerously thin at wide receiver. At least Josh Allen, does he trust his receivers as compared to Diggs? It's Diggs and then everybody else. So is there a receiver that you can bring in that can learn these different route trees that are needed in this offense? I threw out yesterday at DeAndre Hopkins. Pick up the phone, call Tennessee. Okay, it didn't work out the first time around, but Tennessee already paid the freight on that. They're out of it. That won't happen for another 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today. Couple things. It's Halloween, number one, and it's also the NFL trade deadline. And for the Buffalo Bills, they'll be coming off a long weekend. They play on the 26th against Tampa Bay. So, yeah, I would expect that wide receiver, defensive back, and for that matter, Dan, it's kind of coincidental, too. That's what Bills fans are going to be banging the drum for come next draft day in April. That at this point, the Bills are in championship mode. I'm for the guy that will give you the best chance to win right now. I think the offensive line is okay. They didn't have their best game against the Giants. They should be able to push around the New England Patriots. Mm-hmm. Switching gears here. Like, the defensive line should be pushing around that patchwork. That you have Trent Brown on that Patriot offensive line, and what else? Yeah, no, this should be a comfortable Bills win. Vegas thinks so. 8.5 points for Bills team that just eked by the Giants at home. I just don't know. We're going to talk to Mark Schofield later in the week. He's been covering the Patriots for a while. We'll try to talk to some other Patriot observers, but how much longer does this go? When we talked to Matt Perino earlier in the show today, Perino's take was this on the Patriots was, look, this is it. This is their season. If they fall to 1-6, that's it. You are done. You are done in the AFC. It's not happening. So you already say it's already done. But will they actually bring back Bill Belichick? Well, I can tell you one thing that won't happen. They're not going to unceremoniously dismiss Bill Belichick. They will not do that. We're probably on the cusp from a firing in the NFL. I'm surprised maybe we haven't had that just yet. If Carolina gets to say 0-9, 0-10, I worry for Frank Reich's security. I don't think they'll throw Eberflus out in Chicago. That's possible. Well, if Eberflus goes, I mean, the GM, I love Ryan Poles being from Canandaigua, but he's got to be in trouble there too.
How is Brandon Staley still the head coach of the Chargers? I
don't know if the Spanos family pays any attention. Honestly, like, they just find new and inventive ways to lose.
He should have been let go when they beat my Vikings, and they won that game.
That would be a first. Like, hey, congratulations on winning. You're fired. Like, what?
We've seen it. I've seen it obviously in the NHL, but it's much more common. But the NFL, it's shorter, obviously less games, but still.
Has there ever been a coach that's been fired after a win?
I could see maybe last game of the season. Maybe you don't make the playoffs. Maybe you win your last game, but you're still
the closest thing I can come to, and he wasn't fired, but it was a big blow up. That was Doug Marrone. Mm-hmm. Doug Marrone beats the Patriots, meaningless game. The Patriots didn't care. Hey, we're 9-7, and Marrone's contract he had out, and he exercised it. So he wasn't fired, but that was after a win. But I don't.
I'm sure there's been at least one, just probably.
Yeah.
Off the top of our head, we can't think of them.
Would Jimmy John? Well, that would be kind of a stretch there, because when Jimmy Johnson got fired or that big breakup, now I'm going way back. Did the Cowboys win the Super Bowl the year before? And if so, would that count? I'm trying. I don't think. Yeah, possibly. But you're saying Brandon Staley should have been fired.
Well,
really?
I mean, all I've heard is, he loses. He isn't. He blew a 27 point lead to the Jaguars in the playoffs last year. Like, come on. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's Brandon Staley looks like he was hired at a Central Casting, and that's a apropos scene that's on in Los Angeles, rather than Hey, I love Division III football as much as anyone. I've been calling St. John Fisher football since the year 2006. It's kind of a curious path that Brandon Staley took, right? Like, you're at John Carroll, and just a mere 7 years later, you're an NFL head coach? That's remarkable. That's outstanding. Like, or was it even real to begin with?
How about like a guy like Sean McVay with the Rams? Like, I know they just won a Super Bowl recently, but could you see maybe the Rams like cutting ties?
No, I think that McVay.
Because I mean, he was talking about retiring.
It's like, no, the Rams will not cut ties with him. Okay. He'll be the one that kind of walks away.
Okay.
And now, who knows? Like, life gets in the way, and he's going to be a dad here. I don't know if if he became a father yet or not, and it was like expected any day.
Mm-hmm.
There was that story that in case like they were playing last week. There's probably going to be some surprises, but usually it's right around now we have our first, okay, sorry, time to kind of move on here, storyline in the NFL. I don't know who that might be because you have a couple first-time head coaches, Frank Reich, you've got the guy in Arizona, not going to be Bill Belichick, I'll tell you that. That going back to my point about the Patriots, and I think this is a time where Bills fans can just kind of, hey, for all those years, Bill Belichick is the guy who's had too much to drink, and it's 2 a.m., and you cannot get him to leave the party.
Yeah.
You cannot get him to leave the party. You don't want to be the last guy to leave the party. You'd rather leave before midnight. Yeah. You want people wanting more. And it's Bill Belichick's love of NFL history. The fact that he is yearning for that record that Don Shula owns, that he made decisions contrary to what the Patriots were. And I go back to a few off seasons ago, coming out of the pandemic. The Patriots spent money like drunken sailors on this tight end, on that tight end. And look, Matthew Judon worked, but now he's not there. And other things did not work. And my point is, people just said, well, that's just Bill Belichick, marketing equities. He's ahead of the curve. Or maybe that was just Bill Belichick chasing cheap wins and not building properly and going everything against whatever he built there. Bill Belichick, also the guy who mocked Marv Levy. Don't ever forget that if you're a Bills fan. He mocked Marv Levy way back when somebody asked him, hey, how long do you want to do this? I'm not going to be Marv Levy coaching those 70. Oh, how old are you now, coach? Oh, you're well past 70. By the way, shame on you for ageism, okay? Like, somebody wants to coach and they could still do it at 70. Yeah. I'm not saying Bill Belichick should lose his job because of age. No, not at all. I'm saying because look at the results. And do the Patriots want to go through all this all over? I don't think they have a choice. And I think what's going to end up happening here is, anybody that wants to weigh in, once Kraft's son starts getting more of a voice, he's going to want to put his own fingerprints. He's going to want to find his own Belichick. I had this take 2 months ago. In Danger, I was like, no, I don't see it. I'm like, yeah. No, I think Bill Belichick leaves on his own accord. He will go sit out because he's such a name that I don't know who might be. Let me just say the Giants or the Jets.
I was thinking the Jets.
Whoever on the East Coast, that's the guy that can fix all our problems and you bring in, and he'll come back.
Yeah.
He'll come back and he's going to go for that record. I don't know if it's going to be any good, but they'll give that franchise some relevance. Man, wouldn't it be funny if it was like a franchise like Tampa Bay or
just like Brady?
It's like Brady or just some outpost NFL franchise, Indianapolis.
What if he goes back to Cleveland?
Yeah. Honestly, it'd be wide open. And every show like ours and every NFL market that's looking for, Bill Belichick, the greatest coach, he's out there. Why not? This story is so easy to see from here, Dan. Just so easy. Well, we'll be talking more Bills football here throughout the week. We got to get the shots here in the sports bar, some of the stories we're kind of working on is, we got the Sabres tonight. We got some baseball. We've got a familiar name getting hired by the Boston Celtics.
Ooh.
Interesting. And the Charger woman. Where do I come down on this? Romy was having some fun with this, and I'm going to tell you a big old secret about our business. Okay? And I'm going to ruffle some feathers here, I'm sure. That's all coming up. It's a sports bar. Danger's off today. Dan DeLorean is in. My name is Gene Battaglia, and this is the Sports Bar on the Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams from
update.
Sabres hockey tonight here on The Fan, looking for win number 1. First of 4 straight home games taking on the Lightning. Head coach Don Granato knows it's tough going against Braden Point.
He's a great athlete. He's dynamic, speed, quickness, and he has such a high hockey IQ. You couple that with his speed and quickness, and he's always dangerous, always somebody you have to respect. And he's on a line with Kucherov, so it's great players with great players.
7:30 for the coverage tonight here on The Fan. Rochester. Buffalo Bills players are off today. There were reports this morning the Bills are bringing in for a visit Leonard Fournette, the free agent running back. That did not happen. Bills are opening as an 8.5-point favorite against the Patriots. Game 2 of the NLCS tonight between the Phillies and Diamondbacks taking place in Philadelphia. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader. The Fan, Rochester.
From the field to the court to the rink, the sports leader is there. 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
We will be talking to head coach Wayne Wilson here coming up later this hour. So if you'd like to call us, now would be the time. The Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line, 866-4FAN. 866-4326. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub. The new location, 135 West Commercial Street, East Rochester. GoodSmokeBBQ.com. I think I'm overdue for a little visit to Good Smoke there, Dan.
Sounds good. I'm hungry right now. So
we're gonna we gotta make a little trip there.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Texas Rangers. This time yesterday, they put up a 4-spot in the first inning. That was good enough. Got a little dicey in the end, but they held off Houston 5-4. So to review, they took Game 1 and Game 2 in Houston in the ALCS. Now they're heading back home, looking to go up 3-0. And look who is starting Game 3 for the Texas Rangers.
Mad Max?
Yeah. He'll be countered by Christian Harvey. If you're new to the show, both Dan and I are Met fans. That's tomorrow night. Tonight, Game 2 of the Phillies and Diamondbacks, Philadelphia up 1-0. Aaron Nola of the Phils, who, I don't know, you talk to any Philly fan, they were down on Nola this year, but he's coming around when it matters the most here. Merrill Kelly of Arizona. Merrill Kelly, he is public enemy number 1 in Arizona. I don't know if you saw this story or not, but in the pregame press conference today, somebody asked him about the crowd, and he's like, oh, you know, when we were playing in the World Baseball Classic, nothing could have been louder than that.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Oh,
no.
Oh, no, Merrill. I picture 40,000 fans, because Merrill is that kind of name that you can chant. Merrill.
Yeah.
That, like you have no idea what you just did. So honestly, you got what's coming to you on that one. Later start for the Sabres tonight. That's because it's an ESPN game. So 7:30 the puck drop. First of 4 straight home games for Buffalo. One note: head coach Don Granato not offering a timetable for the return of Matthew Savoy. Savoy injuring his shoulder during the final Prospects Challenge game. That was back on September 18th. We were joined earlier today by head coach Seth Apper of the Amherst, and I kind of prefaced like, hey, you're not in the decision-making process in this. We're not either. But it's an interesting decision we were talking about with Zach Benson. So if you're not familiar with the rules, and I think the rule is dumb, personally. I mean, junior hockey does this. Like, okay, well, either you get to stay up in the NHL or you're coming back, but you can't go to the American League. Okay, fine. So that's the decision the Sabres have to make, and they have 9 games to make it.
Did you really just say that, Gino?
I'm baiting you.
9 times.
9 games. Okay.
9 times.
Well, 7 more, because the first 2 assists the last game. He looks the part. He's also 18. So do you keep him up with the Sabres and you kind of manage things? He doesn't have to play all the games. It's an early sample, but I think he's on track to stay here, Dan.
If you do send him back, who is taking his spot and who is producing like he is? I know it's only 2 games, but
right, and that's
it's a
why,
roller coaster, and you have slumps. But who's going to replace him?
That's why the Savoy question is out there, and you also have the Quinn injury showing up here now too, where you don't know if you're getting him back till December.
So maybe send him back, and then if you have Savoy coming in, and if he's is Savoy ready? No,
we can't guarantee that either. So I think Benson stays. You're starting the clock earlier, but who cares? That's the other part of this.
Or do you bring someone up from Rochester, and then you hinder the Amherst?
Well, somebody's got to tear it up here. Now, Kulik getting the game winner in Toronto, that helps. Amherst, by the way, in Lévis tomorrow night, suburb of Montreal. Boston Celtics. How cool is this? We are less than 2 weeks away from the NBA. We'll talk some NBA on this show for sure. Have you seen the Wamba? Like that. Isn't that amazing? That's over Thomas Bryant. Like, oh, yeah. Celtics hired a former, a name familiar to us here, to be their new consultant. Jeff Van Gundy, the former Knicks and Rockets head coach who got his start at McQuaid Jesuit. This right after his playing days at Naz. Van Gundy's now 61. ABC dropping both Van Gundy and Mark Jackson for the broadcast following last season. That's how you know you have it made. I'm going to be a consultant. I can just tell you some things, collect a paycheck, and then not do any of the heavy lifting.
He doesn't really need to do anything at probably this point of his career. I mean, I think he's all set, right?
Right. Well, I'm just saying life goal. Right?
Yeah.
Like whatever your profession is, I can be a consultant. I just can kind of come in, tell you what you're doing wrong. We just say, you're doing a good job. Keep it up. Right?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Do better. Okay, that's good enough.
Better. Yeah.
Where's my check?
Yeah, exactly. Finally, this was from the Chargers-Cowboys game last night, and a lot is being made of Charger girl, or she's more of a woman, I guess, but this young woman in a Charger jersey, they kept cutting back to, and to say the least, she's a little overexcited for Charger football, both the good and the bad, just overreacting, and ABC was kind of, using this. And today she is a meme. But the question today is this: was that really a fan, or was it a hired actress?
Yes.
Dan, it's a hired actress.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. Somebody has already pointed out something that she was in like a Viking jersey somewhere else. Yeah, like Ryan Horvath.
No.
This happens all the time in the entertainment business, that things you think are just, no, they're actually what we call plants. Mm-hmm. Like, it would drive me crazy. Like, you're on Facebook or whatever social media feed you're on, and you get to the part where there was this one thing going around where it's you're at a Chicago Bulls football game, and a guy is dressed in a Celtics jersey, and they're playing the Celtics, and he's ignoring the girlfriend.
Yeah.
And then the mascot comes down and says, "Get out of here, buddy." And then he carries the woman off. Totally fake.
Yeah.
Totally a plant. And I just can't understand how many people actually kind of fall for this sort of stuff, Dan.
Yeah. You see it a lot on social media, like you said. After a while, it's like, okay, it was the same thing over and over again. It gets annoying, and yeah.
Yeah. Chris writing in, Charger woman is simply AI. Well, it could have been that. I think she actually, Charger woman actually existed. I didn't think, though, like people in LA actually cared about the Charger.
Well, they were saying on a couple of shows early today, like Writer Than You and Jim Rome, that I guess the Chargers implemented like robots into their stadium like in the last couple of years. That's what I heard. So I guess they were saying that maybe she's a robot.
A robot, or just AI, just some sort of image, or
well, I mean, she looked pretty real. I mean,
yeah. I just it was curious, like how ESPN was kind of trying to pump it up too there last night.
Well, it said she was in ecstasy or something watching the game, just the way she was celebrating.
Yeah, it was kind of uncomfortable, and then yep, sure enough, there, Dan, I see it right now. It's the same fan who was wearing a Justin Jefferson jersey.
At least she's got good taste in wide receivers, Well, go JJ.
Yeah, well, I thought you wanted your team to lose. Oh, he's not playing.
That's right. That's right.
I guess that's the case.
Niners by 40.
We will. Oh, and there's one other story, too, and this is kind of a bummer here because kind of a bummer that Danger isn't here. The Syracuse University has announced there will be Jim Boeheim Day coming up.
Oh, my
That'll
goodness.
be on February 24th as the basketball team will be taking on Notre Dame.
Oh, the Irish.
So, of course, You couldn't do this for Georgia Tech, NC State, any other ACC opponent that you don't care about. Not named North Carolina and Duke, okay? That's the problem with the ACC. I don't care about any of those teams. Sorry, just got to get that off my chest. In the days of the Big East, now I sound like the man yelling at the cloud. You cared about Georgetown, you cared about St. John's, you cared about Providence and UConn and everybody else in the darn Big East the way it was. You sold your soul. Maybe at some point you'll get back to Big East basketball. But no, Jim Boeheim is not going to show up for your University of Miami game. He's showing up for Notre Dame. So good that and I'm sure that it'll be a day to celebrate out in Syracuse. We will talk to RIT head coach Wayne Wilson. Tigers coming off an impressive win over Notre Dame. Appreciate you listening here today, and we'll set you up for tomorrow's show as well. My name is Gene Battaglia. Danger back tomorrow here on The Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams from across the country and the inside scoop from experts. AUDACY. Odyssey.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required.
AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
What a special night Saturday night was. I mean, and how rare was this? Like, you had a Rochester school taking down Notre Dame hockey. Head coach Wayne Wilson, the RIT Tigers. I mean, Coach, appreciate your time. And sure, it's only the month of October, but how good did that feel Saturday night?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. And obviously, yes, it felt real special. I mean, it's just hard enough to get Notre Dame to even travel. And to travel to Rochester was, I think, a real feather in our cap just for our program, because just about everyone wants to have Notre Dame on their campus, or at least play Notre Dame, whether it be home or away. And I've known Jeff Jackson for a long time, and he's one of our elite coaches in all of hockey. But it was great that we had gone there a couple of years ago, and this was really a game that we were supposed to play during COVID, and he kept his word, and he came back, and then to win the game was obviously more than we could ever expect. So it was a great night for RIT and the Rochester community.
Well, I thought there were two keys to this game. Well, three. I mean, obviously, like Tommy Scarfoni was unbelievable in net for you. Getting quick goals, I thought that was very important. And talk about what you saw out of your penalty kill, because they got the job done, obviously.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. But I will also add that when we went, we split with them the last time we played them. So it's not as unexpected now. We're going into every game expecting to win. And we know some are going to certainly be harder than others. And I would put Notre Dame in that class, obviously. But, yeah, I think what you just mentioned, I think our penalty killing, and your penalty killing has to be led by your goaltender, was outstanding. And our penalty killing did finish second nationally last year, so we kind of picked up where we left off. And Tommy's play and getting goals early, getting the fans into it, versus giving up an early goal to Notre Dame and being on our heels and taking away our fans. So those were all, I think, key moments in the game, and really was the reason for our win.
Yeah, Wayne, and for anybody that's like, oh, man, I want to get to one of those games downtown, how much planning goes into that? Have you officially announced future opponents for Brick Cities, whether 2024, 2025, et cetera?
Well, we have our next three opponents locked in, because it is a little bit different in that you're not playing two games, so sometimes it's hard to get teams that want to travel and play one game, and then we have to return that favor. So, like I said, we've already been to Notre Dame, but we've got our next three opponents that I let the school announce whenever they want to do that. So I'm sure they'll be announcing next year's opponent shortly, but then we've got the next two lined up. And we really try and mix it up, different opponents, different leagues. We probably every 3 years we have one certainly nationally recognized name. So it was Notre Dame this year, but we've had Michigan and Penn State and Boston College. So we've had a lot of those schools, and then we've had a lot of Liberty League members. So it could be St. Lawrence, who we had last year, Clarkson, Union, RPI, those type of teams, and then just other teams still a little bit more regional, where we can certainly get to in a quick day travel type situation. So we move it around, but we try and get as good a teams as we can. We know that's what the community is interested in, is seeing some of these name teams. But on the flip side of that, homecoming is always supposed to be that easy team.
Right, yeah.
And the fans go home happy. And we've have a great record, but really kind of unexpected. I think we're up to 7 years now where we haven't lost down there. We've had some ties in there as well, but that's a little unexpected, but it's been great for us, and our players certainly look forward to playing down there.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, you don't get to pick, your Atlantic, like when you play your Atlantic hockey schedule. Like, hey, here's your conference schedule, coach. So with that being said, like, wait a second, you're getting Sacred Heart coming in this week? This feels like a matchup that should be in January or February. Your thoughts on, taking on these guys that, I think they're picked second here in the preseason poll.
Yeah, so a little different mindset. We'd like to win that Notre Dame game for a lot of different reasons, but one of them would be in our pairwise for the end of the year. And then, Sacred Heart is picked right behind us and in the preseason polls. So now this is probably the more important games for us, even though Notre Dame's a highlight game. Sacred Heart's much more important to us in our standings and where we go the year. And then after that, we go to Holy Cross the week after. So we've got a tough schedule here in front of us. But I think it's good. I think it's a great test for our program to see where we are. And it is a long year, and we've got a lot of things to work on. But these type of teams will expose what we need to work on, and we look forward to the challenge.
So Wayne, and some different levels, different philosophies here, like hockey is a long season, and some coaches like to take a look at things, different players, experiment, that sort of thing. But you have a team right now that could be, thanks in part to that win over Notre Dame, when it comes to the pairwise and whatever, it could be challenging. Is it more foot to the pedal this year right now as opposed to other years, Coach?
I would probably say no. I think it's the same. I think, first of all, you've got to believe in your players, and I like our team. And even though ice time's not always going to be equal, I think you've got to use your whole lineup. I think rest, whether it be Tommy Scarfoni, first team all league goalie, and is off to another really good start. But we've got to give him rest. We've got to get one of our other goalies in. Same with other positions. And even we got a little banged up, but so we've got to get other people in and rest the people that could use some rest at this point, and particularly second half, I think, is when you really are looking at making sure that come playoff time you're about as rested as you can be, even though you're playing 2 games every weekend, but you're as healthy and ready to go. So you've got to use your whole bench, and like I said, we like our team, so we've got to play our whole team.
Yeah, and with that, you kind of got an interesting storyline. You've got, through the portal, Luke Lush, who was goaltender last year at Sacred Heart. Do you consider playing him one of the 2 nights this week, Wayne?
Yeah, we really will. And I think we take it a little bit day by day and week by week, and then really we don't decide too much. Sometimes it's premeditated, but who's going to play, let's say, the Saturday night until after we finish our Friday night game. So we'll probably do the same, go through the same process that we normally do, and who's going to start in goal. And we think we have a lot of confidence in Luke. I can tell you that we like the way he played, not only against us, but the type of year he had last year. And he's very capable. And it's competition, but he's also competing against a very good goalie in Tommy Scarfoni. But so we'll go through that process. But yeah, he'll definitely be playing games, and whether it's this weekend against Sacred Heart, it could be the following week or weeks after that. He's definitely going to get in the net for us.
The Tigers taking on Sacred Heart, 7:05 on Friday, 5:05 on Saturday, RITtickets.com. I'll invite you out. Wayne, thanks so much. We'll see you down there Friday night. Really looking forward to this weekend.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Head coach Wayne Wilson of the RIT Tigers coming off a 3-0 win over Notre Dame, where Dan DeLorean was in attendance. And you did not
I did not sneak in. I got tickets last minute, but I was able to be there and take in the atmosphere. It was unbelievable. You kind of mentioned there with 2 goals quickly, and then the crowd got into it, and then it was kind of lights out from there. Big penalty kill, like a 5-minute major. Yeah. So great atmosphere. I'm glad I got to take it in, and it was a hell of a night for me.
And so, I hope they get some good crowds coming up this weekend here. As this team, got a hunch we're going to be talking about them in March this year.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, that was fun.
Tomorrow on the show, this is exciting. Maggie Gray coming in. Maggie Gray, part of Maggie and Perloff, whose husband is from Rochester. She's got Western New York roots, obviously. She is one of us. I'm excited. Also, best plays tomorrow from PJ Glasser, your host of Send It In on the BetQL Network, as we're looking ahead now to how to play this. Thanks for listening. Danger's back tomorrow. Thank you, Dan DeLorean.
Thank you for having me.
Stick around. CBS Sports Radio up next.